Hello, everybody, and today I'm here to review Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and I'm doing a very different format today. I'm using StreamYard to review it, and I'm not doing this alone. Oh no, I'm reviewing this movie with Eli Little Blue. Say hello.
Hello, everybody. It's good to finally be in one of Anchorman's videos, and in this case, doing a live stream.
Yeah, and we tried to do a Star Wars ranking, but I don't know, that didn't work out.
Not as what we were expecting. So
Yeah, but StreamYard, it's easy, quick. We can easily do this. So, you ready if you are?
yeah.
Okay, so we might as well talk about our experience with Indiana Jones. What's your history with Indiana Jones?
Well, honestly, I can't remember when I was first introduced to Indiana Jones. But all I can really say is, well, because I remember watching the movies, and I remember that that especially Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's a for many years there were so many like spoofs and references to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Of course, most notably, you know, the part with the boulder chase and stuff like that. And going to the Disney parks, well, because I've only been to Disney World, and of course they have the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. And when the Great Movie Ride was still there, they had one segment of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So yeah, my experience and memories of watching Indiana Jones, and also because I remember back in 2008, I my family and I we went to go see the fourth one, which of course being Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and well at that time because. I think pretty much everybody felt that that was going to be the last one. I mean, for many years, no one expected that we would see another Indiana Jones movie, but it wasn't until I think around like 2012, 13, etc. that because when Lucasfilm became a part of the Disney family, well, because not only were we getting a new Star Wars trilogy, which being the sequel trilogy, but also we were to uh, get a fifth Indiana Jones film. And it took quite a while. It did take quite a couple of years for a fifth Indiana Jones film to be in development until eventually, uh, around the late 2010s and early 2020s, Indiana Jones 5 was soon to be underway. And then, of course, the pandemic happened, which meant that the filming had to be delayed and such. But eventually, it was picked back up. It went back into production, and I do remember because I don't know if you have Anchorman or anybody else, because I do remember seeing some photos posted out on social media where we see the legendary Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones getup once again, and some sets that were built you know, and some of those photos already um, uh, what's the word? Indicated to us, yeah, indicated that we were going to be seeing Nazis once again. Since, of course, Nazis being a staple of the Indiana Jones franchise, um, and you know, when there were trailers, I think everybody at the time was very excited. I know that me and my dad were. And then when it finally came out in theaters, well, fortunately, as we all know, the fifth installment, it wasn't. It got it very mixed, a very mixed bag. But there are those like me, my dad, which by the way, because me and my dad we did a review on Dial of Destiny a couple months ago. We thought Dial of Destiny was pretty good. And well, even because we enjoyed the fifth one, we also enjoyed the fourth one. So yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Well, but now come to you, Anchorman. What do you have to say?
I really love the Indiana Jones franchise. My first experience with like the Lego games. I don't know if you played those Lego games.
Oh yeah, you know what? I of course remember playing the Lego Indiana Jones game. That thanks for reminding me because yeah, just very quickly, I too had a blast playing the Lego Indiana Jones game as well as all the other good old Lego games during that time, like
Hmm.
like Lego Star Wars and Lego Star Wars 3. Well, I mean that was all Clone Wars,
Yeah,
and the Lego Batman games
I love that one.
ones, twos, and one, two, and three. But yeah, and definitely Indiana Jones. Uh, that was of course a fun one to play. So okay, we'll come back to you.
So yeah, I played the Indiana Jones games. I was like a huge into like the Lego indie games, and I always wanted a Lego indie. But until I think last year, I finally bought like a Lego set of it, and I've watched the movies, of course, on like TV, and then eventually I got like DVDs of it. I even remember getting like a Indiana Jones hat and whip for my birthday. That was super fun. That hat doesn't fit me anymore, but it was a fun hat. And when they announced this movie, I was like surprised they're gonna do it. I almost thought it wasn't gonna happen, but it did.
Hmm.
And I actually really like this movie, just like you do.
Yep, absolutely. By the way, because I actually checked, do you not know how to put over the thumbnail that I made for the stream? Do you not know how to do that?
Yeah, I did it. I put the thumbnail on the stream.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, I went and checked. I don't see it.
Oh, it isn't. Hmm.
No, I don't see it.
It might be. Is do you just see the stream part?
Yeah, I mean, I see our avatars. So
Oh, that's probably why. Maybe when the stream ends, my thumbnail will appear, but like I can just edit it. If you know what I'm saying.
no, actually, because I mean, I know a few friends that who do Streamyard, and they do have the thumbnails for what they do up. So I don't know if you. I don't. I mean, I guess you. I mean, no offense. I mean, I guess you probably don't.
This is my first time doing it.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
tested it, but like this is my first like stream like official
Okay.
with you.
I think okay. If we do one of these again next time, I'll get some help and advice from one of my friends who does this, and
Yeah.
then I'll let you know. So
Okay. So let's get in. You want to get into the movie itself?
yes, of course.
Oh, do you want to read the description
Yeah,
since that's what you usually do?
I might as well. So, um, yeah, because I've got the just in case, because I've got the IMDb page pulled up, and and to you viewers, because I mean, Anchorman having trouble remembering names.
I remember iconic characters, but like the lesser known characters, that's the ones I have trouble with.
Okay, all right. Well, so okay, description slash the story. Archaeologist Indiana Jones races against time to retrieve a legendary artifact that can change the course of history. So there we go.
So so I think this takes place in the '60s, if to be certain.
It does. Yeah, I mean, in the late '60s, right at the last year of the '60s decade.
Mm. So
However, I was just going to say, because however, the movie starts off as just like how it did in the Last Crusade. The movie starts off with a flashback sequence, and again, just like what the Last Crusade did. And the thing is, like this one in Dial of Destiny, I think it goes on for the opening flashback sequence. It's like 26 minutes, I'm pretty sure. But anyway,
yeah, it
so
is. When I was rewatching it last night.
yeah. And by the way, because it is nice to see, because with the opening logos, I mean, we get Disney and we get the Paramount logo, because it's nice to see that Paramount's still being attached to the fifth Indiana Jones film.
Yeah, that's cool that they were able to get it on the Paramount. And like I like how they're still using the old format they did with the movies. Like they'd have their title screen of like Indiana Jones, and they show the title.
Yeah, and this is the first time, pretty much like the first and last time, where it does not dissolve from the Paramount Mountain to something that looks like the Paramount Mountain. This time it's done with the Lucasfilm logo,
Yeah,
which I don't think it's that bad. So
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's
I
a nice dissolve with the Lucasfilm logo and what closely looks like the Lucasfilm logo.
yeah,
Yeah, so
like Crystal Skull had like a gopher or something to make it look different.
yeah, little like dirt. It looks like a mountain, but then actually it's a prairie dog. So
So,
yeah,
do you want to talk about like how this movie starts?
well of course, yeah, because we can see that we have the presence of Nazis, and they have someone, held captured with a sack over his face. And who else would it be but, of course, Indiana Jones, once again being played by Harrison Ford.
Yes,
And this is where we see Indy younger, and with the use of, digital face,
deep
making.
fake.
What's that?
It's like deep fake.
Yeah, deepfake, that kind of stuff. How did you feel on the de aging of Indiana Jones in this?
Uh, I first thought it looked a little odd, but then I kind of got used to it, and I actually thought it definitely looks like a younger Indy. It was like
Uh,
impressive what they did. It's like what they did with like Luke Skywalker and the Mandalorian.
mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and here's the thing: 'cause I read this. I think one of the people that was involved in working on the de aging of Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. It took them maybe like 1 or 2 years to work on that.
It did. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, because they just for that taking like 1 or 2 years, they just wanted to make it look really good. So
Yeah, I guess it pulled off.
yeah, I mean, with the exception of with Indy's voice, I mean, they weren't able to do that. But maybe we could say that I think my mom helped me out on this. Like when we were talking about it, maybe probably it's because like Indy lost his voice at one point. I guess I don't know.
Harrison Ford's got a deep voice, so it sounded the same to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying because it is Harrison Ford's voice, like say today, because how old he got.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So Indy, of course, being captured by the Nazis, and well, basically because some of these Nazis, like especially one of them, looking for this artifact, which, by the way, it's not just Indy, but someone else going after, which of course being the Dial of Destiny, and some of the Nazis, like the main ones that we see in this movie, the main antagonists, like um, Doctor Voller, I think, played by Mads Mikkelsen, and
yeah.
yeah, and so he's looking for the Dial of Destiny, and because yeah, Basil Shaw has it, being played by good old Toby Jones, and just to kind of speed things up, because because I think they were going to execute Indy, and Nazis trying to chase after Basil Shaw, and by that point, the war was about to come to an end. The Nazis were defeated, but of course, for these Nazis in Indiana Jones 5, they were like, I think they were like going under hiding and such, and because bombs are dropped on them and where they're at, and Indy, of course, being Indy, like surviving, almost getting killed and such, even when he was about to be hung by the neck, and his escape, like at one point because he gets on a motorcycle and catching up to a train. And yeah, because I remember because one of the leaked photos that were out there, because it was it was a train that had the swastika logo, the Nazis, and yeah, so and thus that's what it is in the movie, because Indy catching up to a train, we do hear the Wilhelm scream, and it wouldn't be the same without the Wilhelm scream. And
Yeah.
just catching up to his friend Basil, and to make sure the piece of the Dial of Destiny is safe and sound in their hands. But let's come to you, Anchorman, because what do you have to say so far?
I really like this train sequence. I like how Indy barely escapes, but then he has to go on this train to escape with his friend. He has to go find his friend, and he even tries to blend in and stuff. Uh, and like once they get to the top of the train, that's where I thought, dang, this movie is really entertaining with its action. Like you already feel it's an Indiana Jones opening scene.
Yep. Yeah, just like that whole like train sequence was pretty cool, and of course, eventually, because uh, they dispose of Doctor Voller and all the other Nazis that are on their tail. Even like say intenseful stuff when they're on top of the train, like going like ducking, because they're in a tunnel, and then in the end, because well they jump off the train, and you know, and the piece of the Dial of Destiny is all right, and then we jump to present time in this movie in 1969, which that being the same year, because a lot of things that had happened in the year of 1969, because that's the year we went to the moon, the
Yeah.
the infamous Manson family murder happened. The mysterious mansion at Disneyland opened. We had the passing of Judy Garland. He had and Star Trek, the original series, coming to an end. Just so much happened in that one year, I tell you. And
Yeah.
and in this case, for Dial of Destiny, because well, again, by that point, well, because man had made its way to the moon, and a lot of celebration going on outside. And for Indy, because of how old he's gotten, I'm pretty sure like by this point in Dial of Destiny, I'm not sure because no, the movie doesn't establish it because he's probably like in his probably in his 70s, so
Yeah.
sounds about right. Because I think during the time of the events of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, um, Indy and how old he was in the fourth one, I think probably he was in his like I guess mid 50s or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
that I think it was 50s.
yeah. Um, so probably like okay, just judging by the year of 1969, probably because Indy was probably maybe like somewhere maybe in his like 60s or 70s. That's probably a good guess. But anyways, um, we find out because with what's been going on with Indy, because well, him living in an apartment, unfortunately, because we find out that you know, I think yeah, because he and Marion, they were going to have a divorce, and we do find out at some point that well, because they lost their son, Mutt
Mutt
Williams.
Williams.
Yeah, and let's mention Mutt Williams because yeah, Mutt Williams being absent from this movie, I do remember, reports of whether if Shia LaBeouf was going to return as, as Mutt Williams, and what the one of the writers had to say about that, and how Mutt Williams would be written in the fifth film, and when the film did finally come out, and we found out, and we know where Mutt Williams was, the absent of Mutt Williams. Um, we do have some comments here. So
Yeah.
Mikey Sue's four is here.
You on my channel? I'd have to check it out. Yeah, all five of them. That's cool. I saw
Okay,
that you commented.
right. Welcome, Mikey. So hopefully more people will show up again because I
Hopefully.
on the Little Blue channel I did make a community post to let others know. So
Yeah.
anyways, so back to Mutt. When the fifth film finally came out, we learned and found out, and we now know because what happened with where Mutt Williams was and just what happened with him. And it turns out that yeah, go ahead,
He
Mikey. No
wants to
problem.
join? Is that what he's saying?
Do you want to join, Mikey?
He
Let us
said I
let
want
us
to comment with both of you.
just in the
I could,
chat or with us on or actually join us talking. Just let us
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Okay, but okay, back to what I'm saying on Mutt. We found out that apparently he had joined the army, and it turns out he did that to piss off his old man. So,
Hmm.
and eventually, at some point, sadly, Mutt was killed in the line of duty, and because of Mutt's death, the death of Indy and Marion's son, this caused a rift between them, their marriage and so on. But okay, and before we come to Mikey, because like, what do you have to say on Mutt Williams, Anchorman?
So, like, a lot of people don't like that character. I don't mind the character in Shia LaBeouf, but, like, I don't know. I feel they did it to create tension between Indiana Jones and Marion. Like, give us a reason why Indy's, like, at an all-time low. How they killed off the Mutt character. I mean, did you think it was fine when they killed him off? Did you want Mutt returning?
Well, I mean, I honestly, I wouldn't have mind if Mutt would have still been alive and if he were to appear on screen. But I
Maybe
think,
like a cameo.
yeah, something like that. Or whether if he did join his old man for one last adventure, I don't know. But either way, because eventually in the final film, I think it managed to work, and obviously because it was an off-screen death and such. So overall, I don't think I didn't really have a problem with it, but it was still sad. It was still sad that Indy and Marion, they lost their only child. So
yeah. Did you
all
want
right,
to bring this Mikey guy on? No.
I guess we should. I mean, there's no problem like having others join for this. So
Okay.
so if
I'll
you
maybe
want,
send a link in the
yeah, if you want to join
chat.
Mikey, like I think you can put it in the description. So
Okay. I'll put a link.
Or in the meantime, because while you're doing that, I'll talk more because
Go ahead.
so Indy living in an apartment, and then he's still teaching. That's a good thing. He's still teaching, not at the same school that we had seen in the first, the third, and the fourth film. It's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's like the students are barely even paying attention because a lot of people, they're like, it's not just the students, but a lot of people are paying more attention because, well, I mean, it's true that this was a big thing, that man was going up to the moon and stuff like that. Although,
Yeah, they get
because
like a news report of it.
exactly, and however, I mean, there was one of Indy's students that was paying attention and even answering some questions and solving it. Enter Helen Shaw, being played by good old Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and which, by the way, because Helen is the daughter of Basil Shaw. So, now about Helen Shaw. Now I know for a fact, and I'll go ahead and start this. I know for a fact that there are those that thought Helen Shaw was too much, and I don't know, because they didn't really like her. But I mean, for me, I honestly I had no problem with Helen Shaw. It's kind of like how, for me, surprisingly, because I never had I never had any problems with, like, say, Willie Scott, Short Round, and Jar Jar Binks, stuff like those kind of characters in Lucasfilm movies. But yeah, so
Welcome,
okay.
Mikey.
We got Mikey, so
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you, Anchorman. And
You're
I'm new
welcome.
to your channel, so I'll make sure I subscribe to your channel afterwards.
Yeah, thank you.
And Eli, good to meet you.
you too. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you started talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, my wife and I saw it when it came out opening day in theaters. We live in Canada. We live outside of Toronto in a suburb called Scarborough. So we went to we went to a theater which is called a Cineplex Odeon and saw it in the Ultra VX
That's not.
visual effects theater the first time, and then later on we were able to buy it. So we have all 5 of the films. When that happened, after we saw the 5th one, we were I had a terrible computer when I first started streaming on this channel, on our channel last year, but I was able to manage to do a Indiana Jones franchise stream I think it was it was a webcam, and I was able to talk about uh, all the indie films and so forth.
That's
So when I heard you talk about Mutt Williams, uh, here's the thing. Here's the thing I found out.
okay.
Shia LaBeouf did okay in the fourth one, but for some odd reason, they didn't want him to come back. But then again, they were trying to maintain some kind of continuity to his character or actually what happened to him. So from what I understand, uh, Indy had already got a notice in the mail, or it was personally delivered that he had died in a during the Vietnam War. He had actually died in battle
Right.
because he wanted to join, and I think that Marion was definitely against it, but Indy thought,
Hello.
because remember
I
previously.
think I don't mean to cut you off, but I think both Marion and Indian were against it, and also because I literally stated this, Mutt joined the army to basically piss off his old man.
Oh yeah, you sure did. Oh, we just lost Anchorman.
Uh-oh. Well,
Oh, no.
maybe we. I don't think there's nothing to worry. He'll come back. He'll be back. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, there you are. Hi,
Oh, there-
Anchorman. Or should I
Sorry,
say
glitched out.
Was that a
Oh
little?
no, that's okay.
Did you have a little technical difficulty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, go.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Mikey.
Yeah. So as I was saying, right. Initially, both Indy and Marion were against it. This is according to what the director was going to introduce at the beginning, but then of course, they decided to go with the that pre-sequence, in Germany when they're trying
Yeah.
to steal all the treasures and everything. And by the way, we talked about that a lot, but I'll get to that in a little while after I listen to your guys discuss a few other things. But suffice it to say, I guess they were more concerned about showing what would lead eventually to the final quest that he was going to do, with his niece, right? So,
Yeah.
and you know what? I really like Toby Jones. I really do, because I think he's a great actor.
Actually, Helena is Indy's goddaughter.
Goddaughter,
Yes,
right? I'm sorry. Yeah, it was like a niece or goddaughter, right? So yeah, I mean, I really like Toby Jones in that, in the opening sequence, of course. But see, the thing with, like I said, the original plot they were planning on was they were going to have Indy, he was going to be there in his apartment, and then they were going to somebody was going to knock on the door with a letter saying that he, had passed away in Vietnam. And yeah, they, initially Indy and Marion were both, according to what the original story was going to be, were against it. But then, because in spite of that, Mutt wanted to show his courage, like he tried to during the, Crystal Skull movie. So that's why, despite both his parents' objections, he decided to go in to the army. And because of that, Marion blamed in Indiana for allowing their son basically to go to his death. So, but they didn't know that, right? They didn't know that yet. So
Yeah.
she blamed him, and that's probably why you saw those divorce papers still laying there, which they, of course, Indy hadn't touched him yet, but he had just been issued those. So that's basically where we picked up at. And I don't know, it was, we liked the film. I mean, when we first initially saw it, it was good. I mean, yeah, there were some great scenes and things that happened in it. But it seemed like the whole plot and the storyline, all it would do is like cut off in moments, and then it would just have lots of dialogue. I really don't like action films that have too much dialogue in them. And I did mention that in our stream when we talked about this film. So, I mean, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I prefer action, and I mean, I don't mind dialogue, but like if they need it, then they need it. But like, I prefer the more action stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
Honestly, I mean, I really had no problem with what goes on and such. But yeah, so I mean, again, because we now came up to Helena Shaw. I mean, yeah, because I already said my part on what I thought of Helena Shaw. Who wants to go next about Helena Shaw?
I'll go next. I think she's an okay
Yeah, go ahead,
character.
Hank.
She wasn't my
Yeah, go
favorite.
ahead, Anchorman.
Go ahead,
Yeah, yeah,
Anchorman. You take it from here.
Helena, right? I don't know. She wasn't my favorite character, but I definitely felt she was this, I guess, goddaughter of Indy,
Yeah.
and her dynamic was cool in this movie. That's I don't know. I don't know why people had a problem with Helena in this movie, but she didn't bother me.
Yeah. And what say you, Mikey?
Well, that was the Phoebe Waller Gates or Waller Bridge. Sorry,
Yeah, Bridge.
Waller Gates. I don't know why I call it that. Phoebe Waller Bridge is a character. Yeah, Helena. You know what? I gotta say that for her, I mean, we're so used to seeing Indiana Jones be such a strong character, right? A very masculine, uh, hunter and scholar, and then to see someone like Helena just kind of want to assume the role, and she seems stronger than Indy. I did have some problems with that. I had some qualms with that for sure. Um, I wish there was a sub character in there, played by Antonio Banderas. I wish they could have elaborated more on his character, but then they
Yeah.
kill him off too early. I'm like, um, because Antonio would have been a nice, little extended addition. I mean, yeah, that's great. You got to see John Rhys Davies again as Sala, but
Yep.
then of
Yeah, I
course,
like
then he
Sala.
wasn't in it. Yeah, but then of course, then he's not in it for very long either. So I
Yeah, I
don't
wish
know.
she
It's
was in it longer.
Yeah, I wish he was too. And then of course Marion doesn't show up until the end. I'm like, okay. Um, so was this all about Helena Shaw? I mean, was she supposed to be like a new female type of indie, or yeah, I wasn't happy with that. I mean, when there were moments like as I told my wife, I said there are moments where she's trying to assert herself, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're if you feel if you're female and you feel like you need to, uh, you know, be on somewhat of an equal par with a man, I don't have a problem with that. But then when you're trying to push it more, and in a way you're kind of phasing out, the whole concept, the whole character of Indiana Jones, and just saying, well, he's gotten older, he's a wimp, we don't want him to do all these adventures. Let us take care of it. Yeah, that's where I had a problem. I'm not denying the action wasn't cool. It was. They also did use a lot more practical and special effects than CGI. I don't believe most people realize that.
Yeah.
And it's just and background and stuff. Matt's original Matt photography and things like that. It's so cool. But I mean, it's just like, yeah, Helena was just becoming like the figurehead. She was basically Helena of Troy. If you want to go even as far to say, when you went all the way, when they went back in time, but she's like she's the domineering figure, and that's not supposed to happen in an Indiana Jones film. I'm sorry. I just had a problem with that.
Yeah.
I feel she was probably in the movie a lot more, probably because I guess they need someone younger in the movie. But like I think like at the end, I don't know if you've seen Chris Stuckman's review on this movie, but he's mainly complained that like he didn't like how Indy was sidelined at the end. Is that what you're referring
Right.
to?
I believe so. Well, when I haven't, this gentleman you mentioned, no, I haven't seen his own personal stream
Yep.
about it yet, and
Yeah, me neither.
I'll probably go look for it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's a good review.
Oh, good, yeah. I basically will say, I tell you how we rated it. I gave it close to a 4. I think I gave it about a 3.8, 3.9 out of 5. I love the action. I love the special effects. Um, some of them didn't quite make sense in the opening sequences, but overall, yeah, no, it was okay. I just, but like I said, because I had the issue with Phoebe's Helena character and the kid. Now, come on, the kid. You know what you could have done is you could have brought back. But of
Short
course, he was
Round.
doing another movie at the time. You could have brought back Short Round.
Yeah, I wish Short Round was in it too.
Yeah, even in a cameo, even if you bring him back for a few minutes, of course he's older Short Round. But if Indy had his advice and his vitality and energy, I think that would have been cool too. I think that would have been great if they had brought him back. That was the whole deal.
I do. I feel as though that I've seen maybe a few rumors, a while back before Dial of Destiny came out, that
Yeah,
the possibility we could see Willie Scott in Short Round, which of course that was false and it never happened. So
sure. Well, there was one
Yeah.
possible scenario which I wish could have happened. A friend of mine, Daniel, said he thought at one time a possible scenario would have been that Indiana would have met up with Short Round, who's of course older, and Short Round might have had some information about his son because, like we said, he got the letter saying that he did pass away fighting in Vietnam. But the thing is, sometimes you can't really confirm that. And I also thought that he was actually missing in action rather than killed. So even being MIA is daunting enough. But I would have thought if Indy had in the scenario, if he had come and wanted to go look for his son, and you can bring Mutt back, for a little bit, not a whole lot, but you can bring Shia back. And let's just say that Short Round runs into Indiana, they get together again. Yeah, maybe you can add Helena on the side, but don't bring the little kid with her. No, no, just her. And then the three of them could just go look for Mutt. And then if they find him
Yeah.
alive, in a prison camp or something in Vietnam, and bring him back, now I would have loved that. I would have been good for that.
That could have been fun,
and,
interesting.
and see what you said about Short Round and how what you said that how he could have appeared. See, something like that could have easily worked in the fifth film.
Yeah, like
I
a
think it would have
cameo.
enhanced it. Yeah, I think we all agree, gentlemen. It would have enhanced the film tremendously. You wouldn't even have had to deal
Mhm.
with any of this other sidebar stuff with Dial of Destiny and everything. It appeared at first like it was
Hey guys,
just a big mess, right? And then it just kind of, I don't know, it kept you interested in some parts. Like I said, some of the action is very cool, done right, but then like the rest of it, where it goes into mindless dialogue, and it makes it look like I said, like Helena Shaw is more aggressive and more direct than Indiana Jones. No, that's where I just like, oh please, just get her off the screen, do more action. I and I mean,
I'll get
even my
something real
wife
quick. I'll be
agreed. And I
right
was
back.
like, okay, yeah, sure. So
You guys
Yeah.
can continue talking.
Okay. Well.
I'm sorry.
So okay, but continuing with the movie because
Go ahead.
I mean, turns out Helena is hiding and she's running and because there are some I think from the FBI or something that are going after her and Indy getting tangled in on this and this I mean this especially has to do with the piece of the Dial of Destiny, which, by the way, because we get like another flashback sequence, like, Indy wanting, the Dial of Destiny piece to be destroyed and such, but, you know, um, Toby Jones's character had been hiding it for years and seeing a young Helena Shaw at one point, and
Yeah.
yeah, and of course, and to speed things up still, because like at one point, like we get like another like chase sequence. Like I mean, this time like one of those like chases that we'd seen in some Indiana Jones films, like like around like buildings and a town and such. And in this case, because yeah, Indy running away from those that are on now his tail and also Helena's, and even at one point because like Indy being framed for murder, and well, he gets on a police horse been getting chased by ex-Nazis and even like going down the subway tunnel and the subway train and such. And yeah, but
Yeah.
like after what I said, like who anything to say on some of that stuff?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I wanted to go back to the opening sequence for a moment. So, Thomas Kretschmann, who was in as that one Nazi colonel, didn't last very long on screen. I was kind of dismayed by that because I really do like the actor. He's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him in a lot of other things. But Mads Mikkelsen, I've always been a fan of. I think probably since Casino Royale that he did with Daniel Craig, the first James Bond film that Craig did. Le Chiffre, he played a great Le Chiffre. He was in the multiverse. Well, not the multiverse of madness, but he was in Doctor Strange with Cumberbatch. So I mean, Mikkelsen is a great, and oh yeah, he also did Rogue One. He was Galen Erso, as a nice reference there to Anchorman. But anyway, Mads Mikkelsen, he plays a great, not well, I'm not going to say that N word. Sorry, he plays a great German villain. But let's be honest, he's on the train. Here's one of the things I really doubted. He's on the train, and he's going after Indy, and you see one of those, the train signals, the big thing that's there. It hit him off the train. No, it should have decapitated his head. He would have been dead. There's no way. I'm sorry. I mean, the laws of physics, but there's no way that Matt's character survives that, right? And I mean, there was also the scene where Indy was in that hallway with all the other soldiers, and then that bomb, that what would they call it? A screaming bomb. Welcome back, Anchorman. And then they have that screaming bomb, right? That drops from the plane, goes in there, blows up everything. But then you have Indy still alive, hanging by a rope while everybody else got wiped out. I'm like, okay. They're pushing the boundaries of believability here when it came to all those kind of sequences. And then when Indy, later on, when Indy's trying to run away from the FBI, look who's in charge of it, right? It's a woman. A woman is in charge of this FBI squad that's supposed to go after him. Then eventually she gets knocked off, and and then Mad's character takes over, right? Because I guess they planned it all this time. And the other thing I had a problem with that too, Eli and Anchorman, was the fact that Indy didn't say, "Well, this belongs in a museum." Right? I believe he was actually expressing that thought in the first four films, maybe not so much in the fourth one in Skull, but I believe in the other three, yeah, he actually was legitimate about wanting to put this thing in the museum. And see, the thing is, he wants to destroy this thing. He doesn't even want to hesitate. He wants to destroy it. And Toby was the one who thought it had a lot. Toby's character, Shaw's father, thought it had a lot more potential. And I don't know, does that seem weird? I mean, do I seem like I'm talking weird when I'm talking about that? I mean, Indy's supposed to be stronger than that, isn't he, or more self-assured?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, honestly. I mean, what about you, Anchorman?
I think he wants to. He probably wants to destroy it because it's like it's super dangerous. I mean, I get like the Lost Ark and the other stuff are dangerous, but like maybe it's because of the concept of what the dial can do. Maybe that's why he wants it gone. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right.
Yeah, but it's also the fact that they're kind of trying to emphasize time travel. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we're still, as
Yeah,
human beings, we're still
I
trying to figure
kind of
that
had a
out.
feeling this was going to.
Yeah.
You were saying, Anchorman?
Sorry,
Go ahead,
I think
Anchorman.
it was going to. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I think the movie probably was going to explore time travel.
Yeah, and it
Is
did.
that what you guys were trying to?
Yeah, well, it just seemed to well, when it came to the sequence, where they went back to Archimedes' time, and uh, it just seemed so convenient. Oh yeah, by the way, they're flying over the Bermuda Triangle, and yeah, so by the way, they have this device that allows you to, enter a portal through time and end up back in Roman times. Oh my gosh!
Which I mean,
The
that's
style, like,
not where they were. That's not where they were supposed to go to, because they were
Right.
the
planning.
40s.
They were planning to travel back to like the 40s or something. Basically, they were going to try and, like, I guess you could say, dispose
Dispose
their
of the item, right?
well,
Yeah,
their like the Nazis, like the ex-Nazis that eventually did get their hands on the complete Dial of Destiny. They were going to use it to travel back into the 40s during the war and try to
yeah,
dispose their fearless leader.
right, and dispose of
Adolf
yeah,
Hitler. Yeah.
Adolf, right, Adolf, right, yeah, back then. But of course, it all went to naught, and they ended up further back in time, whether accidentally or uncharacteristically, I guess. The whole concept, it just seemed a little crazy to me. Maybe not
I
really
mean, I think
ridiculous, but it just seemed kind of crazy.
I don't know. I think Indiana Jones explores a lot of crazy ideas. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but if you think that, that's fine.
Well,
Honestly,
you know what I mean. I love fantasy. Believe me, Star Wars is like the ultimate in fantasy, right? So
Yeah.
correction, space fantasy.
space
Yes, science
fantasy,
fantasy.
correct? Yeah, correct. Thank you for correcting. Thank you for
Yep.
clarifying that. Yes, but now but see what we're talking about with Indiana Jones is it's more of action on on land fantasy. Um, I don't know. I still have a really difficult time trying to understand why they had a time travel plot device in a movie such as this. I didn't understand. I mean, um, don't get me wrong. I think the Dial of Destiny, as they call it, the Ankythera, whatever it was. Yeah, it's been out there. It exists. Um, because otherwise, we'd all think it was ridiculous until somebody, actually proved in research they found a time type of device, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Buried
Yeah,
in
they
the
find
ocean somewhere or someplace.
they find it like
So
the ocean or something,
yeah, it was in the ocean, right? Yeah,
and then we see like the eels and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
exactly.
that was I think the eels were like that version of seeing something super gross, like I don't know, like in Temple of Doom, we see like the people eating those bugs, and I think
Yep.
Raiders
Well,
they did like the melting faces, and then like
Mm-hmm.
right.
or no,
Well,
it was snakes. Snakes, yeah.
yeah,
Or
well,
that, or here's
snakes,
another,
but they're
or here,
water snakes, right?
yeah,
Well, they're
or,
huge eels. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
huge
here
eel.
I was just also going to say, like, another example, because in following of what you said, Anchorman, another example, like some like creepy stuff that happens, like in the Indiana Jones films. It's just like what's his face in the Last Crusade. He drank the wrong cup that because choosing which would be the Holy Grail cup. Choosing poorly, and then just he very quickly like ages and dies. So that's another
right.
example.
Well, in this one, what was the issue with the water snakes? Indy he's still afraid of snakes, and he was saying, "Don't call them snakes. Don't call them snakes." Well, what do you want us to call them? Water eels.
I mean, that's what they are. So.
Right.
Yeah,
No. I understood that, but I was just like, oh, okay. So he still has that fear of snakes, and he doesn't want it to be called that. But then that was during the sequence that had, like I said, the great Antonio Banderas, and you only use him in a minor role. I mean, oh come on! I mean, the man is a legend. You know,
You
he's
want
done
him
a
to
lot
be
of
like the
good
big
films.
bad?
What's that?
What's that, Anchorman?
Did you want him to be like a big villain?
Not a villain. He was a hero. I thought.
No, I mean,
Yeah. I'm
I
sorry,
didn't.
sorry,
It
sorry.
never,
My bad.
never occurred to me that like he would play a villain in it in something Indiana Jones.
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
he was assisting Indiana, so in effect, he was his good friend. I mean, he knew him like before this, so
Yeah,
But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, you know, uh, Antonio himself, if I recall correctly, said afterward, he said, "It's really about Harrison. It's not about me. I was willing to do whatever they asked of me in the film, and you know, I mean the true consummate professional, right? I mean, he was willing to do anything that he could with his role, whatever he was given, and
and
I
for
tell you, I
and for
really enjoyed his
and
time on there.
and also him being a part of this, for the fun of it. So
Yes,
Yeah, it really was about, like, I guess Harrison's final time playing Indiana Jones.
of course,
right. So okay, so let's see. So we can go back to the review. So now, so Harrison, uh, remember in the past, he used to want to do a lot of his own stunts, but obviously the man's over 80 years old, so he's not going to be hanging on a motorcycle or doing all this stuff himself. He's got to have somebody else to help him, which I totally understood because you know um, one of the best stunt coordinators that he still got to work with was Vic Armstrong. Vic Armstrong has worked not just Indiana Jones, but he's also done James Bond films as a stunt coordinator. He's done other films as well. He did the Kingsman franchise. He worked on that. I mean, he's done a lot of great stuff as a stunt coordinator and stunt director. So I was really happy that he got to work on a lot of these stunts for the film, um, and did make him seem believable. So yeah, that was cool. I was glad to see his name in the credits.
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What part are we at in the movie? Like, what we're talking about?
I mean,
well, we're
technically,
talking about the chase scenes. Where they're going through with the horse and everything like that during the parade.
I like how he almost was hit by the train, but he quickly moved past it. I thought that was a cool scene.
Yeah, very cool.
yeah, and also because where I was at, because after the whole like chase sequence, and he was on a police horse, and up to when he can see it on the TVs that he's been wrongfully framed for murder and such,
Of
and
course.
that's when enter Sala. We get to see good old Sala again, once again being played by good old John Rhys Davies. Which
Yes.
fun fact, John Rhys John Rhys Davies was considered to make a cameo in the fourth Indiana Jones film at the end of it, the wedding scene. But John Rhys Davies felt
Yeah.
that wouldn't be like enough, and so on for the character of Sala. So I'm pretty sure, though, because he politely turned it down, and it wasn't until when Indiana Jones 5 was happening. I mean, I remember reading that John Rhys Davies expressed interest in reprising the role for one last time as Sala, which which would be the final Indiana Jones film, and
Right.
thankfully, because it was revealed, and even when the trailers came out, and it was confirmed that we were going to see John Rhys Davies one last time as Sala.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too that was supposed to happen in that final wedding scene of the Crystal Skull was that Short Round was going to come back, Sala was going to come back. All the previous characters that he worked with in the three films prior to the fourth one, they were all supposed to be on either side of the aisle there in the church, in the little chapel there, that they got remarried. And of course, Mutt being there and everything. So I mean, they were supposed to do that, and then for some whatever for some whatever reason, most of them either had prior commitments or they just couldn't do anything. So it made I always thought, and I guess maybe both of you gentlemen might have thought the same thing. I always thought the Crystal Skull was supposed to be the closure. I thought that was supposed to be it. And I thought, a happy ending because they got remarried and Mutt tried, then the wind blows and, the famous beret, or, the hat from Indy ends up on the ground and Mutt grabs it. You think, oh, Mutt might be the next Indy. And then it's like, no. Indy took it back. And I was like, okay, well, that was kind of a bit of a humorous twist, at the end. But then, you get into this film and wow, right? And I'm just like, yeah, I think overall it could have been done better. Like I said, I like the scenario, even though it might have been considered, but they never wanted to do it. With going to look for his son. I think that would have been a lot more fun. I think it would have been a lot more interesting. But of course, we never got that. So the next best thing, I guess, is, hey, Indy's never done time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so where are we at as far as the scene? So after the chase, so then he runs into Sallah, and of course he says to him, stay true, Indiana Jones, in a big his big baritone, and
you see, because you see, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's like you could it's nice that for this being in the film, because Sallah expressing his interest, and he wants to help and join his good old friend Indy, and he misses he misses the desert and the sea, but Indy, he wants Sallah to stay behind because it'd be too risky and such, and
well, he's a dad too. Don't forget, he's got all those kids.
Exactly.
And they're growing up fast, and Indy, you know what? It's very admirable of him to allow his friend, who's probably saved his life more times than he can count, in past adventures. But for him to stand up to Sallah and say, look, Sallah, you have a responsibility with your family. You need to be there for them. Remember, that's why I brought you over here to the United States just before the war ended. That's why he brought them to safety, because he wanted his friend to be safe. He didn't want him to be back there with all the Germans still running, around and causing havoc, and and they were, because Sallah was a marked man, right? Because that's why Indy made sure he got him and his entire family back home, back to the United States safely, because they were, after what in the events and what happened with the Last Crusade and everything else was going on. We didn't realize until just later that Sallah became a marked man, and he was going to be killed unless somebody was able to get him and his family to safety, and that's what Indy did. So that's huge. I mean, that brought a little bit of closure too, because I was like, oh, that's great, because now Sallah is safe, and he's got still has his wife, still has his kids, but they're safe in another country. They don't have to worry, because the war's been long over, and now it's just now it's just about them. It's about the family. So yeah, I mean, I admire Sallah for wanting to join him, but at the same time, I admire the fact that he knew his responsibilities and he stayed behind and to take care of his family and allowed Indy one last adventure. So yeah, That was good. I like that.
Yeah, and I do like also, like, this was in the trailer, and for this being the film, because Indy feeling that, like, those days of adventures and such, have come and gone, and Sallah, saying, perhaps not. And then as Indy, heading off to be getting on an airplane, and this is great of Sallah, give them hell, Indiana Jones. Yeah,
I give them hell, Indiana Jones, right? Yeah.
that was such a good line from Sala. So
Oh, it's a fabulous line because did he say something similar to him in the first Raiders of the Lost Ark when he went to go after the Ark of the Covenant? And
I think so, something like that.
something similar, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he says, "Oh, how you gonna do it?" He says, "Well, I'm just making this up as I go."
yeah.
He says, "I'll figure something out." He gets on the horse, goes, "Yeah," and he, goes after him. So I mean, it's yeah, Sala is a great character. I'm really happy that they did choose John Rhys Davies to do it because, remember he was Gimli in the Lord of the Rings, and
And
did all this cool stuff.
and he was
Yeah,
also in Lord of the Rings, not just Gimli, but he was also the voice of Treebeard.
yes,
Yes.
Treebeard. That's right. Yeah, he did. Yeah, so awesome. Yes, I mean, just yeah, he's done a lot of and I think he even appeared in Harry Potter somewhere. So yeah, I mean, he's done all this stuff, and I mean, and
I also,
yeah,
I, just,
I really
I
like
also,
him.
I also feel like mentioning this. I also remember John Rhys Davies for having a voice role in the Jungle Book 2.
Uh huh.
He was
Yeah.
in
Oh,
it.
did he? I don't know. I mean, I know I'm familiar with the original Jungle Book, but I never saw a sequel. So
Well, in case you did or did not know this, because in the early 2000s, there was a time when we had direct to DVD sequels to Disney films,
yeah,
and Jungle
I remember some of those. Yeah,
and Jungle Book 2 was one of them. And John Rhys Davies was the voice of Mowgli's adoptive father, so in the Man Village. So I thought
and
I'd throw that out. So
one of those other ones was Aladdin 2 and the Return of Jafar.
It's Jafar.
Jafar, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I call him Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I just remember watching him grow up as a kid playing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
Jafar, right? Return of
not
Jafar.
and not to go off topic of Dial of Destiny, but just another quick mentioning of the Disney direct to DVD sequels. Like you, best examples. Like you had a handful of like Winnie the Pooh films. You had the continuation of Lilo and Stitch, and you also had two more Lion King films. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but jumping back to Dial of Destiny, because Indy making his destination. Like, does anybody remember the name of the location he travels to, and
It's like
where he meets up with Helena Shaw?
I thought he met up with her at the library.
Well,
There was a library.
she
he
did.
did.
Like, yeah, but it wasn't until later on. The next time he ran into her was at like an Arabian like location or something.
Yeah, they're in a bazaar,
Oh,
right?
bizarre.
And I
They
think
are.
it's Marrakesh. Yeah, Marrakesh. So
Yeah,
they're in a bazaar in Marrakesh, and he goes there and realizes that the piece is up for sale.
exactly. Yeah.
She's trying to sell it. And of course, there's a lot of other people there involved. Oh my gosh. The most funniest moment of that whole encounter, you got to agree. He pulls his gun, he has his whip, but then everybody else pulls their guns and they're all trained on Indy. I laughed when I saw that scene. I couldn't stop laughing. It's like
Mm.
typical Indy getting
Yeah,
into more trouble, and then he's surrounded by guns.
yeah, which was in the trailer, and I remember because when me and my dad we did a reaction to the trailer, and that
Yes,
came up because of course, like both me and him, we got a good we got a good laugh out of that because it is a good laugh because
it's
Indy,
hilarious.
using the whip, get back, and spoke too soon because now then they whip out a lot of guns.
And how we got out of it, right? I mean, okay, spoilers, guys, out there in the chat if you're there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he found. I'll just say he found an innovative way to get out of it, because he could have just as easily been blown away by all those guns, very easily. So the way he came up with the idea of just getting out of that without getting torn apart by bullets, that's crazy. But it was fun. I did laugh. It was hilarious.
Uh-huh.
yeah, absolutely. And also, like now we can mention we can mention him like anything because anything to say. Hold on a second. Let me pull him up. Yeah, anything to say on Teddy being played by Ethan Isidore, if I'm even saying the last name right. Like, okay, what are the first things we have to say about Teddy?
He was a cool. Isn't he like the sidekick, sort of like?
Yeah,
He,
yeah, to Helena.
yeah, to
Yeah,
Helena.
like,
Right.
he doesn't
I
do
mean,
too much in the movie for me, but like I do like the scene where like he takes down the big guy later in the movie, where he like handcuffs him to that
Yeah,
pole and then he dies. Like that was brutal.
but I mean, didn't he? But gentlemen, didn't he kind of remind you of a Middle Eastern form of short round? Right, because he was from the
Maybe.
Middle East.
yeah, I mean something like that, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know it. It to me it seemed all too uh yeah, it in some parts where you see the interaction between Helena and Teddy and Indy. Uh to me it just seems so much like it was, Temple of Doom again. Except that this time
Really?
Teddy is short round, right? It just seemed like it was repeating the whole story plot there, involving him.
Yeah.
Maybe. You mean like
I
the
mean,
character?
unless you guys think it's something different, but I was, like I said, I was
You
already
mean like
making
what's going on is like Temple of Doom, or the character? Teddy is like a
just,
is like
yeah, just the
too much
character
like
with Teddy. It just seemed like they were rehashing some scenarios with Teddy. Like, for example, when they were when they had the chase scene and they're in the vehicle, right, and they're going down there, and of course there's all the stuff going on, and it just seemed like similar to the chase scene that when Short Round was driving the car, and Kate Capshaw's character was saying, "A boy is driving the car,"
How does
or like
how does a kid drive a car?
the kid driving a car, right? I mean, yeah, and I was like, I don't know, it just seemed like they were telling Teddy, "Hey, Teddy, be Short Round, but in a different context." It
Hmm.
just seemed like it was a repeat, right? It was like a rehash. A lot of chase scenes, especially a
I
lot of
feel
the
like
action.
Indiana Jones
Sure.
has a formula, which it could be considered like a formula.
Yeah, well, there is supposed to be a formula established. Well, when it came back to Lucas, right? Lucas always said, and he agreed with Spielberg when they used to watch these old time serials and stuff. You're always going to have. Well, here's the thing: in a given scenario, in the kind of the old time serials, you always had your hero, you always had your villain, you had your damsel in distress, and then if the hero required it, you had a sidekick. And that's just, and that's what they were doing. And then if you had minor characters that were either good or bad, depending on how either they help the main protagonist, in this case Indy, or if they go against him, like in the case of Mad's character, um, as a villain, and other villains that helped him. I just, it's like I said, they're trying to establish the formula, but then I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I guess it's just kind of they messed with it too much. I guess maybe that's what I'm saying, and they just kind of, like I said, repeating, rehashing stuff. It's just, yeah, it's just silly. You don't do that. You need to be a bit more creative. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I
coming
could
to
see
me,
what you're saying.
yeah, but okay, now coming to me because what I have to say on the character of Teddy, because again, just like Helena, just like with Helena, because I mean, I had no problem with Teddy either, because I know that a lot of other people seem to also have a problem with Teddy, but yeah, I mean, for me, because I didn't have any problem with him, so
It was
that's
fine
really
for me
that's
in the
really
movie.
that's really all I've got to say about Teddy. So
Yeah. What would you say, Anchor Man? What was your impression of Teddy?
I mean,
Anchor
mine.
Man?
Oh, you want to hear mine?
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, how do you, what line? Like any line I should do?
Well, I guess maybe I guess the best thing I could probably ask both of you gentlemen is was Teddy the kind of character that could have done more in the film or should have done less in the film?
I think she could have done more in the.
Yeah, I think with what was done with the character of Teddy in Dial of Destiny seemed all right. So
Yeah. I kind of wish, okay, in some instances where he's really involved
yeah,
in the story, I'd say, yeah, sure, keep him. I mean, yeah, let him be in there a lot more. But in some of the other slower scenes, you didn't really need him. I mean, it just seemed like he was there for, you know, comic relief.
yeah,
In some cases, right? Because I mean, in Temple of Doom, it seemed like Short Round definitely had a big, important role, not just on being, not just being Indiana Jones' sidekick, so to speak, but also that he had a bit more personal, protection invested in Indy, because in fact, Indy did save his life off the streets, right? So,
yeah.
or as a thief. So, I guess that's why they were in a way copying that for the fact that Helena, remember, she said that she took him off the streets in similar circumstances. So, yeah, weird, just weird.
Yeah.
Right.
And that whole chase sequence, yet another chase sequence that we get. There's like on those like little carts and
Yeah.
because apparently like they're chasing after the ex-Nazis because they got a hold of the Dial of Destiny, but also coming face to face with Helena's husband. So
Yeah. I have a feeling that subplot was just thrown in to make Helena Shaw seem more interesting, maybe.
Are you talking about the
I don't
flashback?
Well, about the Arab guy, the prince, I guess, prince's son. I guess they wanted her, or they had a deal, and then yeah. Oh, we lost Anchorman again.
I think he's AFK. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
He'll be back. So
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So yeah, I like to feel like the Arab prince, right? He was that kind of character. It was just more of a subplot, maybe to make Helena Shaw look a bit more interesting, to have skeletons in her closet or a backstory.
yeah,
But they never really, I mean, other than the fact that they chased him, right? But I mean, just other than that, I don't know. They never really expanded on that part of it, I guess. Maybe I was hoping they do a little more. Hey, welcome back, Anchorman.
there you are.
Hello.
Yeah, Anchorman. We were just talking about I was talking about a subplot where Helena Shaw has that Arabian, I guess he's an Arab prince or the son.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a subplot, and it didn't really go anywhere. I guess it
The
could have been
flashback.
expanded. I think. Yeah.
What are you saying? What'd you say, Anchorman?
Are
Go
you
ahead,
talking about the
Anchorman.
flashback where like we see the Indy?
No.
No, not
We
the
were
flash.
we're talking about the prince. You know, that was
Yeah.
married to Helena.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
was originally married to her. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any comment on that, Anchorman? Anything to say on that?
I don't know. No. You. No. Like, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah. Well, no, we were just wondering, Anchorman, if you thought that subplot could have been a little more expanded, or just kind of left where it was.
Anything to say on that, Anchorman?
Yeah, anything that you thought about it.
I don't know. I think he might be having technical difficulties. I don't know, but
Oh, he could be. Yeah,
Yeah.
he could be.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah. I
There it
think he's
goes.
having technical. It's okay, folks. Don't worry. I'm sure he'll get back.
Well,
I had issues like that myself before.
no, I think we can continue on still. So, um,
Okay, so
I will.
after, yeah, so after they run away from the prince, right? Is that where we're at? Ah, welcome back, sir.
Oh, and Commander, you having technical difficulties, buddy?
Yes, like it keeps like turning off the audio of you guys, and then like I have to keep
Oh no!
restarting.
Oh wow! Yeah, yeah. You might want to check on your settings and
Yeah.
your StreamYard settings and see if see if you can modify your volume control a little bit. You also may want to echo yourself out. According to what I do with my settings, is I put in the echo, and then I kind of put up my volume, right around the 130 mark. Because it goes even further, I make it can go and sound too loud, and you can get up to like 200. But on mine, I usually get it to around between 130 and 150, and that usually is fine. I mean, you can hear yourself, and it's not echoing as much. That's just one thing to try. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
So
patient.
that
You can try it. Yeah, I can hear you now a little bit. Yeah.
And if you want us to still keep going, even if you're having technical
No,
difficulties.
I think I'm good for now. Yeah. So what part are we talking about?
Okay.
Okay, so we were talking
Yeah,
about
you guys can
where.
keep going.
Well, and you can still join us, Anchorman, of course.
Yeah. This, I mean,
Yeah.
this
I mean, it is your show. It is your show, buddy.
I was about to say this stream is on your channel, so you're the host.
It totally is, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, what we were talking about was what you thought, Anchorman, about the subplot. According to that, Helena Shaw was married to an Arabian prince of some kind, and then of course she got away from that guy for some reason, and then like runs into Teddy, and then of course they accidentally run into the prince again and some of his associates, and then they start running from them. So not only are they trying to get the Antikythera back from Mad's group, but his German group, but now they're trying the German villains, but now he's trying to they're trying to get away from Helena's spurned ex-husband.
We don't see this husband, right?
See how silly that sounds. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, we
It's
do
funny
see him. We do see the husband. Yes, Anchorman.
Oh, we do.
Yes.
It's not a big role, right?
Yeah, that's why I say it's kind of like a subplot.
It's one of those things that's just thrown in there, just like
It's thrown in there, exactly.
I remember
Right.
when I saw it in the theaters. Like it seems like something they somewhat explore, but they didn't really want to explore it.
Well, maybe because it would have opened too many can of worms.
Probably, maybe.
Yeah. That's what I was like. That's what I was telling Suzanne, my wife. I was like, but as we're watching it, and then of course when we bought it, I said, it just looks like they got so many different little subplots thrown in. It's just a big convoluted mess most of the time. All these little things, here and there that's being thrown in, little scenes like that. Because we're trying to focus, right? Because you're trying to focus on what the main plot is to recover the Antikythera, and if possible, destroy it. Even though if I'm Indiana Jones, in the past, I would have said this belongs in a museum, but I mean, that's just I hate the fact that they strayed away from that, and then of course this scene leads in the review. It leads to where they do run into eventually Antonio Banderas' character, who has these diving techniques. I kind of think that's cool. He was a diver. I like that.
And it's nice that. And I was going to say, it's nice that we have like scuba diving stuff in Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
because like the fact is, like like by scuba diving, you can find like treasures and artifacts and stuff like that
And
sometimes.
rare creatures.
Exactly.
Well, they were exploring. Well, don't forget, this is in the late 1960s, right? So
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
astronauts have already been on the moon. They came back. They celebrated. Yeah. So we're talking 1969. The Beatles are almost broken up completely. Everything's going on. It's a time of trial because of, like I said, the Vietnam War was still going on, and it would go on for another 4 to 6 years
And I
before ever.
also I was
Yeah.
just going to other things that I did point this out, and this was before you joined, Mikey, because
Okay.
other things that happened in 1969, because like as you said, like we went to the moon, the Beatles seemed like they were like possibly going to break up. Also, there was the infamous Manson family murder.
Right.
We had the death of Judy Garland. That mysterious mansion at Disneyland had finally opened,
Yes.
and on television, Star Trek: The Original Series had came to an end. Yeah, it just means so much that happened in 1 year, which being 1969.
Right. And didn't they also have the the thing there in Woodstock? Didn't Woodstock also go on during that year?
Probably.
I,
Like the
I,
Woodstock
I, I,
Festival.
I don't really know that much.
I learned
Well,
something.
all I know is like at the beginning, you probably guys already mentioned this, but he goes down there to knock on the door because of the noise that's coming from the guys they just got the brand new Beatles album. They just got Sgt. Pepper or something like that. And so
Mhm.
I was like, oh wow, okay. So
Parents love the
Indy
Beatles.
is screaming at people because of Beatlemania rock. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So see what I'm saying? There was a lot of convoluted subplots. Everything just kind of thrown in there like a mesh and go, oh, let's see what sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about like the boat sequence before they go scuba diving, where they talk
Well, I mean
about mud?
that's
Oh yeah,
technically
yeah. Let's talk about the boat sequence.
that's
Yes. What do
technically
you guys think of that?
that's
Yeah. Go
technically
ahead.
where we're at. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So what do
Like,
you think of it, Anchorman? What do you think of that boat sequence?
it's like when they reveal what happened to Mud, I kind of knew it was coming. We were already talking about Mud earlier, but like, I don't know. I didn't surprise me that he wasn't in the movie. I guess they found some certain way to, I guess, give tension to Indiana and Marion for why Indy's so low in his life because he doesn't have his son anymore because of the
Right.
war. And it's just I guess it's a nice scene. Let's see. It just answers the questions we've been anticipating. I mean, I don't know what you guys were anticipating if Mutt was going to die.
Yeah. What do you think, Eli? What were you thinking about when they're on the boat? That scene, the scenes that they had there before the diving, they did.
I think what goes on in the boat was pretty good. Like one part where because Helena is like in a card game with Antonio Banderas' character, the captain, and a couple of other crewmates, and well, apparently because she's good at this at playing cards, and also because as I mentioned this early on, and because this is where this comes up while they're on the boat and late, in the evening time, because Indy basically talking to Helena about the loss of his son, and and as I pointed out, and because Indy points it out, Mutt joined like the army and such, basically just to piss him off. And as we talked about, unfortunately, because Mutt was lost in the war and so on, and because this caused a rift, and this destroyed um, Indy's and Marion's marriage, and
Sure.
and as it was pointed out, because Marion blamed Indy for just letting their son go in the army and such,
To go
but
in there and right, he and of course towards the end, Indy did try to justify. I don't mean to skip too far ahead, but Indy does try to justify that Mutt was determined to go, whether or not we both said that he shouldn't. He had that headstrong mindset which he which is why Marion blamed Indy because Indy's, is headstrong, and he goes into a situation, without really thinking about it. And I think that's why Marion was definitely upset because Mutt just decided to go into the army anyway and go fight over there, in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like I said, they never really said, just going back to the beginning a little bit, they never really said whether he was MIA or whether he died. They just said he's disappeared while fighting in Vietnam, and we don't know what happened to him. We're assuming he's dead, but he could just as well be MIA, or like I said, he could have been a prisoner of the North Vietnamese. I don't know. We never really knew that. I mean, it was just kind of it was something important that was hinted at, but it was never explored. That depressed me too, because I was like, I wish they could have elaborated on it a little bit more. It just seemed a little too neat, towards the end. But yeah, of course, with all the scenes on the boat, we lost Anchorman again. With all the scenes, with all the scenes on the boat, I like the fact that Helena was establishing, well, at least she was establishing her dominance more. Welcome back, sir.
Yes.
She was establishing her dominance more. She could show that. By that, she could play a good game of poker. And she could get away with a lot. She knew her stuff. I mean, because she studied a lot from her dad. So in a way, towards the end of this, Indy doesn't really consider, of course she's family, she's a goddaughter, right? But
Yeah.
she doesn't. But towards the end, he really doesn't consider her as just goddaughter. He considers her more as an associate. So he's starting to respect the fact that she is well learned, but that there was but like Indy in most ways, she's also headstrong, perpetuous. I mean, whatever, she just doesn't think ahead most of the time, and she just goes into a situation. It just seemed like a mirror image of Indy in most cases, and I was like, okay. I didn't know how else to react to it. I just, it was weird. It just seemed like a mirror image of him. Just, maybe his former self, of how he was before he got all old and everything. And then he looks at her and says, wow, that was me back then. Did I do all that? It's kind of weird seeing that, throughout most of the film. So
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think Helena was going to become the new Indiana Jones in this, and she didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so after, okay, so we're going to the diving, right? Where they're going to try to find the other piece.
They
Yes.
find like the book of the Archimedes or something.
Yep.
Yeah. That's where they have. Well, what was cool? Like I said, I really loved. Now this is where, even though they used very little CGI, this is where it did come in handy because, in a way, it kind of reminded me of like the Lost City of Atlantis in some ways. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool how they were able to make it appear like something similar to that when they dove down to it. I mean, that was actually pretty cool. I liked those scenes. I did. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It was I did like the inclusion of the eels.
Yes. Don't call them snakes.
Nope, they're not snakes.
No, they're not snakes. Well, but Teddy said they're water snakes. He said, don't call them snakes.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Indiana Jones. And you know what? That's like me. I have a phobia against bees and wasps and hornets, things like that. That's a phobia. And the thing is, don't tell me it's a bee that's flying around me. Tell me it's a stinging fly or some of the, So I don't know, So I don't want to know it's a wasp or a hornet or anything, or any bee that can sting me. I don't want that, Tell me it's something else, That's kind of how I felt, putting myself in these shoes with his phobia, Yeah.
Isn't like the next scene, like don't the villains eventually like ambush them while they were trying to look for the thing.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Well, then they kill
two of
him.
them-
They after the diving and finding. I guess they found that other part, and then they kill Antonia's character. I was really upset about that. I just
he
wish
died.
they could have done a little more with him.
Wasn't he shot in the leg?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a. Yeah, I mean, it was a shame because, just having Antonio Banderas' character just getting killed, and even though, because never really got that much, and because of, apparently, as the film establishes, he and Indy, because they had been longtime friends, and,
Yeah.
because, when they get ambushed and they're held hostage on the boat, and, because, I mean, I think it's obvious, yeah. Because if I remember correctly, because Banderas' character, he wanted to keep his longtime friend alive and such, and not then the risk of him not being killed. Renaldo, I think, yeah, that's the name of him, and
Ronaldo, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think if I can't remember this. Like, is it me or like he kind of technically like was sacrificing his life to save Indy's?
Yes.
He put himself. Ronaldo put himself in great danger so that Indy could live. He made to me, Ronaldo made the ultimate self-sacrifice,
Yeah.
to make sure Indy would survive, which I thought was admirable. But then again, we lost Anchorman again, which is admirable, definitely. But I wish that in some way, Ronaldo's character, like I said, Banderas, should have been extended a little bit more without having him off so quickly. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, don't forget, Banderas is used to that. You remember when he was in Expendables 3 as Galgo, and he was only in it for a short time. I think he was in for like less than 20 minutes in the movie. But he definitely made an impression in the film, and even said some great dialogue. Just going back to Expendables 3.
I don't think I've seen that movie.
Yeah, that was with Sly Stallone. Yeah, it's great. We own all 4 Expendables now too. We just got the 4th one. But
Cool.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, like I said, Banderas wasn't in that one very often or very much, the 3rd one, but he did make a seriously good impression. So I think that he did the same thing here in Dial of Destiny, but he just wasn't,
He just wasn't really in the
wasn't
movie.
in it for very long, right? And I was kind of disappointed about that. So, I mean, yeah, I was happy that for however long he was able to do it. Yeah, I loved his character. It's one of my favorite characters to watch in the film. But yeah, it wasn't very long. That, like I said, it was kind of disappointing. I'm sure you guys agree on that. That was
Yeah,
Antonio's.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I had to be AFK for a moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What were I had kind of had to turn, and I turned down my volume. Like, where are we at now?
Okay, so now after Ronaldo's been killed, right? So now it's a battle against time, literally.
Oh, and by the way, I don't mean to cut you off, because also, like, Helena basically helped out the ex-Nazis, like, figuring out the puzzle and, like, the coordinates and destinations of finding the other piece of the Dial of Destiny, so...
Yeah, she did. And why? What was her motivation for doing that again? I don't understand that.
Well, I mean,
She's trying
for a purpose and such, and obviously, because... knowing Indy and Helena and Teddy, because obviously they would do whatever it takes to get there first. So
yeah, they won.
Right, and it did seem in a way like Helena was a bit more learned than Indy. I thought Indy was supposed to be the be all know it all.
He knows he's been doing it for a long time.
And he has. but then he's I guess maybe because of time and because of the fact that he is get obviously older, he's lost a step. But then that doesn't mean that you have to have somebody like, Helena, like Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, to literally just take over and say, "Oh, Indy is you. Indy is me now. I'm younger. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm a woman. Yay, woohoo! And I'm better than you are now than what you were back then." Yeah, I just seemed like that's what she was trying to do throughout most of the film. And I think most people were dismayed by that because we all know Indiana Jones, is a powerful character. Like I said, he's an intellectual. He goes on expeditions. He's supposed to survive tenuous situations. He's compassionate, but he's also bold. He's considerate, but he's also ruthless, and it's all the things you want to see in an archaeological hunter slash professor, of archaeology. You want to see that. I mean, as a true hero. But then I felt like his heroic deeds, everything was just being severely diminished, and I
older.
don't know. It was hard to watch. Yeah.
What were you saying, Anchorman?
Well,
Go ahead.
he is old, and
Yeah.
I think that's made the plot point where he. I don't know.
It is all about his getting older, right? Isn't it? Dial of Destiny. Yeah.
But like it could be like considered his final adventure, or he
Yeah.
kind of makes peace with himself at the end. I don't know. When he finally does meet with Marion at the end of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah, at the very end. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. We don't want to skip too far.
I don't think they're trying to make it about Helena. I think it's making it about both of them.
Also,
Sure.
can we talk about like how well they do bring this back, rightfully so, for one of the things that they rightfully so, have in the fifth Indiana Jones film, like that, like the little montage or something where we see like them like traveling and we see the map and such, that whole thing.
That's that's always great to see.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, that was good to throw that in. Yeah, and I agree. That was very innovative to throw that montage in. Yeah.
Isn't there a specific name for that with the whole map thing?
Fast travel.
Yeah. Backstory.
I mean, keep in mind, because Indiana Jones hasn't been the only thing where it's done that kind of thing, where we see like a red dot and a red line and, traveling from different places of the world, that whole thing.
Oh, yeah, the map thing. Well, yeah, that's cool. They did keep that, right? Yeah, they did. So,
but the thing is in Dial of Destiny, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different, so...
Well, we are talking, like we said, 1969, so late 60s. Maps have improved over that 25-year span since 19.
Yeah, but again,
he was involved with the train and everything. So,
but specifically what I'm talking about, right? Because it's been in the first 4 Indiana Jones films where a little montage of them traveling and we see a red dot and so on.
Sure. Yes. But then they kind of took that away, right? Yeah, sort of.
No, because it's still in the film, but it's just done a little different. Just a little different.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's done differently. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did it take away from the film? I don't think so. I think it just kind of made it plot along. Maybe not as fast as like previous ones it did in the other 4 films, but it just kind of made it plot along a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Anchorman. Welcome back.
The fast travel is cool. Sorry, I
was about to say, because you're still having technical difficulties.
Yeah, my audio keeps shutting out, like not working. And then I have to keep restarting.
Oh. Okay,
where are you at right now? As far as, I mean, do you want to say where you're at or located or?
I'm in my house.
Okay.
Let's just say he's near Cleveland, so.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm in Canada, and I had to get a brand new computer after my old one. I found 2 Trojan viruses on it.
Mhm.
So I had to get rid of that one. I mean, I had to,
Yeah.
I sent it back to factory resetting, and then I took out the main hard drive to make sure no one could get a hold of it. Well, in fact, I destroyed it, and then what I did is I cut some wires so that nobody would be able to run that computer ever again, power cords
Oh,
and all that sort of thing. So
Uh-huh.
what part are we at now?
Well, in that location where they travel to and
It's
to
like a
get
cave.
to to get to the cave and
Yeah.
where well, I mean where they would find the grave of Archimedes and find the other piece of the tombstone of the Dial of Destiny.
It's like the
yeah,
last.
the other piece. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you
I
remember
said, they
that?
made it look similar to uh, what some people have described from Plato's description of Atlantis. So it's like some of the, including his gravesite and everything underwater, uh, seem to like be similar to saying like you found a lost city or lost temple or whatever, and then that's how they were able to find the Antikythera's last, second piece.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and then
On
we
the
get to the
progression.
part right, and then after that, after Ronaldo's shot and everything else happens, we get to the part where it's going to the airfield, right? So because they have to stop the plane, um, and I like that part where Teddy found a plane, and who knew he could actually fly? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like short round, a kid driving a car. Okay, so here you have a kid in Teddy who knows how to fly a plane. Oh my gosh! I mean, how crazy can we get?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good at flying a plane.
I know, but it's just. Do you understand how crazy that is? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wouldn't
I
be
mean,
able to.
it's not far fetched. Let me clarify something. It's not far fetched because I have heard stories of like 12-year-old kids, 13-year-old kids, that for some reason have an innate sense of being able to fly stick planes and things like that, almost like a stick car. So, I've heard
Interesting.
of stories like that. I mean, miracle stories
Yeah.
like that. So it doesn't seem too far fetched, but
No.
but it's just weird. Just weird. I mean, it's just crazy.
That
Yeah,
is
I
weird.
guess
Yeah.
so. What you guys want me to say a part where we're at now?
Yeah, I mean go ahead.
Yeah, go
Don't
ahead.
I don't like don't Indy and Helena do find the last piece, but then like the bad guys catch up to them, and then like I think like Teddy like causes the bridge to fall, and then like after he's handcuffed to the big guy, the big that big bug.
Yeah. And
Yes.
let's not forget because a little bit earlier before they got to the cave, like cuz at one point Teddy did get captured, so
Uh,
Yeah, but to stay
yeah.
close to them, that's he realized he got handcuffed to that big, huge, henchman dude. But then he realized, well, maybe this is
Hooks
not
it
such a
to the
bad
thing.
idea, to be hooked to him because
hmm.
then
He's
they can
smart.
follow me.
Yes, Anchorman?
Yeah.
The kid's smart or something. Like he was able
Well,
to get
well,
away.
yeah, of course.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
He like I don't know. It was brutal when he like. It was clever how he used the handcuffs to handcuff the henchman to the pole, and then like he like drowns off screen.
Yep.
Yeah. But don't forget, Teddy, not unlike Short Round back in Doom, is a thief. And that's how Helena was able to, right, capture him and spot him because he's a thief,
Yep.
and he knows how to manipulate handcuffs. So that
It
didn't
does.
surprise me when he did that. I thought that was innovative and cool because a thief will do that. He knows how to pick locks and do things like that. So yeah, I was totally cool with that. I had no problem with that. And I thought it was funny. Oh, we have two Anchormans. Hi, Anchorman Squared.
How did that happen?
It's happened before to me,
Yeah.
but like I said, it was a bad computer I had previous. So,
Yeah.
there we go. Back to Signal Anchorman. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, hey, no worries.
And it's like this is for a joke, Anchorman, you never told us you had a twin, twin brother.
That's why, that's why I said Anchorman squared. Woo! Hey,
I do
he's
have
here twice.
Huh?
Yeah. So okay, so now where are we at? As far as okay, so Teddy has done his little magician trick with the handcuffs, killed the big henchman. But they still have the pieces. They got them both, and then they're trying to get away. And Teddy and Helena, and to some extent Indy, get there, and then they got to find a plane to catch up to the plane that's already taking off with Matt's character and the other Germans, and well, let's see. So, what did you gentlemen think of that sequence? Like, where Teddy's trying to find a plane to catch up to the other plane, which is going to be going off and flying, and that whole situation. I mean, what'd you guys think of it?
I mean, it was now what was this again?
to
that
the
I was playing?
Archimedes. Like I thought that scene looked nice.
Well, they haven't got there yet to the time frame where Archimedes is there, but they're at that airstrip, right? And so the Germans they've already got all the pieces and now of the Antikythera, and now they're getting ready to leave, and then Helena and Teddy, and like I said, to some extent, Indy are all trying to find another plane to catch up to them to figure out where they're going.
We are also missing a few things. We also forgot to mention a couple of other things that happened in the tunnel because
Oh, whoops! Yeah, sorry.
I'm the cave. I meant cave. Like
The cave. I'm
like when
sorry.
they come like trying to like avoiding like stuff that closes in on them, and then like when they do come to Archimedes' grave, they they noticed that there's something off on his grave, markings that resemble a plane, and inside of his grave, like the remains of Archimedes, he basically has a watch,
Yes,
and
a stopwatch. Well,
like
a digital, an early form of a Timex watch, right? A digital watch.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's really bizarre.
it is bizarre, and you just like, how is that possible? And then of course and then when the ex-Nazis step in, confronting Indy and such, well, I mean, because it doesn't take too long for them to, get out of there. But even like at one point, because well, I mean, Indy had Helena like him and Teddy to get out, and then at one point, because Indy did get wounded and shot, so but still he's doing his best to still like fight and such, but then of course Indy getting captured by the ex-Nazis. And by the way, because the reason I keep saying like ex-Nazis, because that's something that originally the whole thing of ex-Nazis was considered for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but Spielberg, who directed Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, couldn't find himself doing another movie with Nazis, especially after doing Schindler's List. So
Right.
so
He didn't want
instead,
to.
so instead they incorporated, and because of the time setting of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, they incorporated
Russians.
the Russian soldiers. So
As a Cold War,
It made more
as a pre-Cold War thing with Area 51 in its infancy, and you know, so yeah, I understood that. I understood why.
yep.
But then don't forget that before Dial of Destiny came out, like you said, Spielberg didn't want to deal with the Nazi Germany anymore. He didn't want to deal with them. But then when he spoke to Lucas and one of the other gentlemen, I forget who it was that helped them to rewrite the screenplay and the script for it, uh, then it was, like you said, that they became the ex, Third Reich people, or because Mads was playing like, he was one of the major guys that, you know, was searching for lost relics. He was an archaeologist too, don't forget. So he was looking for lost relics, so that Adolf could use them, for the German cause. And I believe the Antikythera was, uh, Mads' character's excuse to take over the Third Reich away from uh, the other, leaders, and have him promote himself. That's what he planned on doing, right? I mean, that's what he was going to do, but like you said, they got sidetracked.
Probably.
Turns out it was a good thing they got sidetracked.
Yeah. No, were you gonna say something, Anchorman?
Yeah, go ahead, Anchorman.
Indiana Jones is the finale of this movie.
Now, what was that again?
Did you feel Indiana Jones is sidelined at the end, the finale of this movie?
Well, let's not really jump ahead to the ending yet. So
No, like during the finale when he's on the plane. That's what I meant.
Oh.
Well, I mean, when we get to that scene where they do finally meet with Archimedes, and then what happens after that is really, I almost dropped away from the film at that point because I was like, really? Yeah, but yeah, we'll get to that. It comes pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, because them getting on a plane, they put on their Nazi uniforms. Helena on a motorcycle catching up to the plane and hiding in the plane, and of course then you have Teddy who gets in another plane and flying it, and well again because what they were going to do was the ex-Nazis because again they were going to travel back to
the 40s, right? Yeah,
and to try to dispose and to kill their fearless leader, of course, which being Adolf Hitler.
The Fuhrer, right?
Yeah, the Fuhrer. Yeah.
The Fuhrer. Yeah.
The Fuhrer. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, but then because by setting the dial, the destination, such because little did they realize that and even Indy realizing this that they set the coordinates and such wrong and so on and now because they kind of panic and such because they've traveled into Roman time and they're not supposed to be there so
right, which is why we now realize that when they were back at his grave and all of those items that you just mentioned that seemed so out of place, but then it became destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So roll credits became the dial of destiny, and so that's why they ended up where they did and how they run into Archimedes during the attack, right? And that's going on with the Roman ships and everything, and he's there, and and I mean, why? Okay, I hope I'm not jumping too far ahead, but why were they using the guns from the plane that the ex-Nazis had? Why were they using that to shoot? I mean, you've already disrupted.
It's mostly Clabber because he's a handful because how just like how evil he is and so on and it's like he doesn't it's like he just doesn't care. He's just gonna fire those guns from the plane. Just like, geez.
Exactly.
It's like geez, dude, like this guy's insane.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean,
by the way, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off because my dad said it best. Like when me and him we did our review of Dial of Destiny, like it never fails. Like usually because there's always someone that Indy keeps running into and always fighting and such. Like
Yeah.
best examples, you have one of the main like Russian soldiers, the tall guy like that Indy keeps running into and fighting, and you even like have one of those like Nazi generals in the Last Crusade, which he meets his demise in that Nazi tank, and I think by this film, Clabber being another one of them, so one of those antagonists that Indy just keeps running into.
Antagonist, right? Big, strong henchman dude that, like, in typical formulaic fashion, he's supposed to dispose of. And the way he disposes of the big henchman is supposed to be different. It's supposed to be unique and still cool, to watch him die. And, the henchman, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, come on. That was pretty cool to watch. The big Russian guy, right, with the fire ants. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
still pretty cool. Yeah, still a great death there. But
Yep.
I mean, what happened with the big honcho in this battle? Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Also, because another thing is, well, because I mean, thankfully, because Helena and Indy, they get out of the plane and such with a parachute,
A sky guy.
because the ex Nazis, they meet their demise as the plane crashes. So
Yeah.
Doesn't the Archimedes guy take his watch? One of the
yeah, he does. Well, yeah, he does. So
now he
Yeah,
has
he does. He has the like we said, it's an early form of Timex.
mhm.
And I wonder if you gentlemen recall in history that there was a discovery of a watch somewhere there in Greece, I guess it was, or something, and people were questioning it, going, wait, was there a time travel that went back to then and left their watch behind or something? Because it was an encrusted watch? Something like that.
Yeah, I don't think I really heard about that.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, well, supposedly what happened was, I'm trying to think. I don't think it was Greece. No, I think it was China. Anyway, in one part of the world, there was archaeologists that were digging up some ruins, and they found this thing that looks like a watch, but it was all encrusted and everything, and it looks like one of those that you can put on your wrist, and those type of early watches, and they found it, but they couldn't explain why it was there. They thought maybe somebody had time traveled to that period of time
Like a conspiracy theory.
where it was, and then they found the watch. Yeah, it's out there. It's one of those eternal mysteries that they can't explain.
Really?
Yeah,
That's wild.
Yeah.
yeah. There's also a mystery which says that they found this early form of a computer, like really early stage, which has the buttons and a few things. So it's like an early form, and they found that encrusted somewhere. I just thought that's weird too. So I was like, I think that's why Spielberg might have, or even Lucas might have taken the premise that it would be what. Wait, was it Indy's watch or Helena's watch?
It was the Nazis.
Yeah.
Oh, the Nazis. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, from the crash. Okay, so they took it from one of the soldiers after the crash, or one of the henchmen, and I guess that's why, they felt like at first when they saw it in the grave, they thought it was odd, but then when they saw Archimedes hold it up, then they realized, oh yeah, he found that from the crash site. So, yeah, weird. I mean, it's like everything came together at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take too long for Archimedes to realize what's going on, because it all comes clear to him, and he realizes that probably these strange people, like they must have they pretty much have time travel because where they time traveled during Rome, because Archimedes was working on his his device and such, like the Dial of Destiny. So yeah, he realizes that probably, yeah, because they've time traveled because of what he has created. So
They know what time travel is.
well,
Well,
Archimedes apparently does. So
well,
Do?
Archimedes had uh, it is based on some loosely based on some facts about Archimedes. Archimedes was supposed to be one of the first scientists. Like, later on he had Galileo and Copernicus. Those type of scholars, and Archimedes was one of those types that actually believed that there was spaces in time. Of course, before everything being relative with Einstein later on, all that stuff. Uh, Space and relativity. It's just some of the stuff they were talking about was loosely based on facts about Archimedes back in history that people recalled. Because remember, even Plato said, well, there was an Atlantis, and they had these, concepts of energy, electricity, and even time. And I think that's why they were emphasizing Archimedes a bit more, because he was expanding his theories on time even back then. So, which is why he came up with the Antikythera in the first place. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, here's the thing. Even Archimedes, which then it goes back to what, Indy said before, it should be destroyed, right? Because he thought it was too dangerous. But normally he would say in a regular formula that it should belong in a museum. But then, he lied, to Toby's character, the professor, and he said, no, no, no. He says, I'll take care of it. Let's just let me have it, But then eventually Indy just forgot, and didn't do anything much with it. And now we're in this situation, where they managed to bring it back to that time frame. And then it was at that point, right, that Indiana realized, hey, you know what? I belong in this time. I don't belong where I was. All of a sudden, he gets this epiphany and says, I belong in this time. I belong here with Archimedes and the rest of these people. Now, don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but would would an Indiana Jones back in the other four films ever say that? That if he went back in time to someplace, he'd say, well, I want to stay here. I don't want to go anywhere else. Would he have done that? I don't think so. But I might be wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah, and about that, because I honestly don't know what to say on that whole thing, because he wanted to stay in the time of Rome and such. I mean, did you guys think that probably it maybe might have been pointless for him wanting him wanting to stay and such, he's got nothing else and such,
I'm sorry. I didn't want to be rude. I had to blow my nose. Sorry about that.
You're good.
It was I had to quickly do it. Sorry about that.
Could I say why about Indy wanting to stay?
Yeah, go ahead.
I honestly thought he wanted to stay in that time period because he's literally looking at history itself, or maybe he just feels he's got nothing going for him.
Yeah.
But I guess Helena really did not want him to stay for obvious reasons, and then she punches him.
Yeah.
Well, did he feel? Well, let me ask you, gentlemen, if you thought the same way I kind of did. He gets there, and I think he realizes, well, one, I'm basically at the beginning of history itself. There's big events that are coming forward. I could be a part of it. I could help out, make things maybe better. Of course, like you said, he may not have much to live for. He's already lost Marion, so he thinks he's lost Marion completely, and he's also lost his son, supposedly. Like I said, we don't know if he died or if he was MIA. They just said that he disappeared. while fighting in Vietnam. So now maybe he feels, and at the same time, he feels like he's let down, uh, Helena, let down Helena's father. He feels like he's probably let down Sala. Uh, he saw his friend Ronaldo killed. He says, I've gone through all this. I've seen so much. He says, you know what? I don't really have much more to, you know, any more adventures to go on. I really have nothing else to do, left to do. I mean, it's all done. Here I am. I mean, this is where I belong. So, you think that's how he felt? Maybe that was most of his feeling?
Probably.
Yeah.
But like seeing Marion at the end probably helped comfort him, make him feel a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're just about there. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we've covered. Let's see. Yeah. So they're back in the times there with Archimedes. Ships are warring against each other. Archimedes is looking for the Antikythera, and they find it. And at that point, Indy, like I said, Indy gets all melancholy. He says, I should stay here. I shouldn't go. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Helena Shaw punches him so hard that it knocks him out. Now, come on. It's a woman that's hitting you now. Okay? Think about that. Yeah, she's pretty strong. I won't doubt that. But, I mean, come on. She hits Indiana Jones. You don't just hit Indiana Jones with one punch and knock him out. I'm
Marion
sorry.
Punched him.
Yeah. You don't do that. Come on.
But you did.
The man's been beaten up by, like we said, he's been beaten up by Russians. He's been beaten up by Nazis. He's been beaten up by, those natives in, there at Pankot and all that stuff. All those evil henchmen, the thuggies. Okay, so he's battled thuggies and Nazis and Russians and the ex Nazis and all that, and after all that, everything that he's gone, he's even faced against aliens. So he's done like all this stuff, and then one woman, all she has to do is deliver one big punch and knock him out. No, I'm sorry, I have a problem with that.
Why?
I really did. I was like, what? Yeah. I was about ready to walk out, I think, at that point, but I decided, you know what, I think it's almost over, and I was right. So, but the credits, of course, were very long, as they always are. But yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, it took one person to knock him out with one punch. Is that wrong? I mean, am I wrong saying that, or it just, Did you gentlemen feel the same way?
I didn't really look into that.
Yeah, me neither. For me, honestly,
I think
I really didn't have a problem with that.
Me either.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I slightly did have a problem with that. No, actually, a lot of problem with that because he's a strong man. I mean, even though he's old, right? I mean, he's gotten older and everything. We all accept that. But
he's strong, but like he can still take a beating.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't take one person. I'm sorry. I know, I mean, yeah,
maybe
women can be strong if they have to be. Well, I'm just saying, women can be strong if they have to be. I don't have an issue with that because I've seen some of my friends, that were ladies that actually, if they had to defend themselves, they kick you where the sun don't shine, they punch you in the face or do anything they can to survive. But I just don't get it when you have his goddaughter literally just hit him with one big punch hard enough to knock him out.
I think she only did it just because Indy was not going to listen, and so she did.
Well, yeah, he wasn't listening. Well, like I just said, Indiana Jones melancholy. Oh my God! I'm like, what did they do to this man? I mean, they literally took his manhood and masculinity and everything he brought and his machismo. I think even that's what Suzanne said to me as we were whispering. I said, his machismo. I said, yeah. And look what she did. She just punched him one time and knocked him out and took away everything that we know Indiana Jones for. Everything in that one instant.
Not really.
Well, it seemed that way to me, or to us, anyway. Because we're so used to knowing Indiana Jones, like I said. The way he handles himself and everything. I don't know. I just that was hard. That was hard for both of us to watch. Let's just say that. That part anyway. And then yeah, I guess so. Then after that happened, are we at the part now where they got him back
Yeah,
to
they
present
do.
time?
They healed his wound.
Yeah. And how they get him back? That's what I was trying to figure out. Did
They
they
used
ever
the
say?
plane to get him back.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if they ever said how they got him back.
I assume they just took him on the plane and then they.
Yeah,
Well,
they
obviously,
found the portal.
they obviously they carried him to the plane. So
Yes.
Right. Well, apparently, okay, here's how I understood it. Archimedes was somehow able to plot the next portal opening. So I guess they were able to get, after knocking him out, they're able to get him back on the plane just in enough time to fly the plane back through the actual portal that took them back home, I guess.
Mhm.
Is that
It was
what
like a
it seemed?
wormhole to like the
A
present.
wormhole. Yes. Yeah, you got it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
good
because
one, Anchorman.
they
Yeah, a
were.
wormhole. That's what I was
I
saying.
mean, they were really like because with using the Dial of Destiny and how the time travel works with the Dial of Destiny is like going into the clouds and when there's a thunderstorm. So
Yeah, like an electrical storm.
yeah.
And then it just kind of like, then when all that electricity and time waves, I guess they called it, something similar to that, time waves or whatever, the fluctuations, and then that was supposed to bring them back to where they were before.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah. Like I said, it happened over the Bermuda Triangle. I like how Spielberg kind of incorporated that. Yeah, missing planes, missing ships, and oh, by the way, yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I caught on that right away. I actually said that to my wife. I said, you know what, hon? They're over the Bermuda Triangle. This would explain a lot of reasons why planes would disappear if they went into some kind of portal like that or wormhole, like you said.
Like best example, it's like if any of you guys are know like have seen the Twilight Zone because like it's like the one episode called the Odyssey of Flight 33 where it basically it accidentally and out of nowhere has time traveled. So
Yeah. Well, that was the one with where the plane was flying over dinosaurs.
yes.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Apparently because they also ended up time traveling during the World's Fair, I think in the 1930s or something. So
1939 World's Fair. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. So like that's an example because where like a plane like flying in the sky and I guess like through the clouds, like and how it's out of nowhere, just it time traveled. So
Just a wormhole. Yeah. Right.
yeah.
That's the best way to describe it. I think Anchorman acts. I think Anchorman absolutely nailed it. It's considered a form of wormhole, a portal, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's definitely that. And in some ways, the Antikythera can actually work on that on the what they call the harmonics of the wormhole or said portal, and then be able to open it to that particular passage. But you have to go through that portal at a certain time, otherwise it closes forever. Right? It closes permanently. So they had to
Hmm.
figure out a way to get on the plane, the only working plane that was still viable, and then get up there and still be able to get in through it, before it closed forever. So Yeah.
Mhm.
But anyway, so now we're at the scene where he's back at his apartment, and he didn't understand how he got there. All he knows is that his jaw is really hurting because apparently uh, he got really decked and knocked out, and he thought that was weird, you know. And he feels his chin, where he got hit, and all of a sudden, right, is that when they come in and first it's Helena with Teddy and son with Sala, and then his kids, and then all of a sudden Marion appears.
She just came.
Is that right?
Yeah, she came to bring in
Yeah, she
groceries or
came in
something.
groceries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
groceries.
because like she obviously was informed, on what happened with
Yeah.
Indy and that he returned. So
Right. And I noticed that when she came back, you notice that the divorce papers that were sent to him, delivered to him, they weren't even mentioned again. They didn't mention them once, did they? During their interplay between each other, when they're
No.
in this apartment.
no, they did. No, they didn't mention mutt. No.
Yeah. So I noticed they were still on the desk, right, or at least on a table top somewhere.
Probably not.
Yeah, and also, like, it's nice to see that. Well, we once again see Sala and seeing,
Yes, we do.
the three main characters from Raiders, on screen together. Sala, Marion, and Indy, and
Well,
then
not
because
just Raiders. Yeah, not just Raiders, but they were together. Remember in Crusade for a short time too. So
Marion wasn't in the Last Crusade.
yeah, Marion wasn't in that. I was saying, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So it was you're right. It was a continuation of the very first Raiders of the Lost Ark, where all three of them were together, and now they're reunited. So many years later in his apartment. Yeah,
Yep.
that was
And also because after they had picked up groceries and such, because I think it's recommended that from Helena to Teddy, Sala, and also I'm sorry, Sala's kids,
Fan-
like grandkids. That sounds about right. Yeah, like to go out for
yeah,
ice cream. But even though technically they just gotten ice cream, because basically to give Marion and Indy some time alone. So
exactly.
yep.
But didn't you feel at that point, right? Even though they left for ice cream, didn't you feel at that point? Hey, welcome back, Anchorman.
Yeah.
Didn't you feel, Eli, at that point that you thought maybe if they do another Indiana Jones, it's not going to be about Indiana. It's going to be all about Helena Shaw.
No.
I mean, that's not to say that I wouldn't. I wouldn't be down to see like something else in the Indiana Jones franchise.
They
I
could do
mean,
an animated show.
An
or
animated show? No.
They're
or
doing a new game,
yeah, they
The what?
are.
The
They're
Great
yeah,
Circle.
because yeah, they're doing a new game.
Yeah,
Oh, they're
that's
doing
fun.
an interactive video game about it?
Like I think it's like VCR. I forget what it's called. It's like, the
Huh.
headset thing.
Okay. All right. Well, here's my suggestion. Um, what I think should happen is if we go back, like I said, just for a moment, to the scenario about his son. I think if you could bring Indiana Jones back for an emergency situation, I think it's to go after his son. I think that his son could survive. Now, here's the thing: would I bring Shia LaBeouf back as Mutt, knowing that if he's disappeared in Vietnam, and depending on how many years we're talking about here, between the end of Destiny and what the next film would be like, I think what they should do is have another actor, a nice young actor, play, Shia's character, Mutt Williams, as a little bit older, and find him, find out that he is alive, and that, well, if Sala passes away, it would also add to Indy's. Oh, we lost Anchor again. It would add
Yeah.
to Indy's legacy that he has lost just about everybody dear to him, except for Marion. At the end of Destiny. So
Yeah.
I think if this is just my opinion, but if they come up with another show, another movie, what you could do is have Indy. Well, if he's still around, you could have Harrison Ford show up as Indy in a cameo, say to begin the film, and then instead of Helena leading the rescue attempt to go get his son, maybe it could be Marion and somebody else that Indy knew. The two of them could go after. Because I don't know, I wasn't that big into Phoebe's character, and I still aren't, and I don't know if you could bring her back, but I would love that scenario if you could go hunt for Mutt. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean that'd be an interesting idea.
Yeah, I think it would sell too. I really would. Even like I said, even if you brought Harrison back for a couple minutes, let's say like 15 minutes of him being Indy, and say that then let's say that he passes away, but
Indy passes away.
Karen Allen could still play Marion, and just maybe they could have Sala and Marion. And if Short Round shows up out of nowhere and says, "Hey, I think I know where Indy is," or not Indy, I'm sorry, I think I know where his son is, Mutt. We got to go rescue him. Those three could definitely go look for Mutt and have it similar to an Indiana Jones adventure. That'd be my scenario.
I'd like to say, like, I don't know if you guys ever seen the Young Indiana Jones Adventures, but like
I
they
have.
have like a
Me
scene where,
too.
like, I don't know if it's canon or not, but like they show like a 90-year-old Indiana Jones.
Well, they show him in Chicago, right? He's supposed to be, well, not 90, but he's supposed to be an older. He's playing. He learned how to
He's
play.
got like an eye patch for no
saxophone.
reason.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's canon or not. I don't know.
Okay. Here's what I learned about that. It's also mentioned in our review. What I mentioned about that was the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. According to Lucas, most but not all of the episodes that he filmed do follow some form of pattern, and in effect, they actually are supposed to lead from one adventure to another. Because remember when he started out, when he had that first adventure of his that River Phoenix played him in Crusade,
Yeah.
1912 and all that.
Yeah.
Well, according to what the Young Indiana Jones shows did, it basically took Sean Patrick Flannery only a few years later, after he matured and became not as well noted yet, because he fought in World War I, with Rene, that Frenchman or Belgian, sorry, Belgian guy that was played by that one actor. So they said you could keep some of those episodes, and they are actually canon, and they will just lead from, from that scene from 1912 in Crusade all the way to the beginning of Temple of Doom. Because remember, chronologically, Temple of Doom started in 1936,
Mm-hmm.
and Raiders of Lost Ark started in 37,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
you had Crusade, in
Hello.
later on in during the war, and then you had Crystal Skull, which is in the early 50s during the beginning of the Cold War, just after World War II, and then of course with Destiny being in the late 1960s. So yeah, I guess you would say the majority of it is canon. Some certain ones aren't.
Harrison
Anchorman.
Ford was in one episode.
What's that?
Anchorman just pointed out, and I know this, like, yeah, because Harrison Ford made an appearance in one episode of the Young Indiana Jones Adventures.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. I told you he was in Chicago. He was sitting in an easy chair. He was talking about Al Capone when he met Al Capone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it is canon. If he, I would say that episode particularly is definitely canon. If he appears as an older, as he did, as an older Indiana Jones, relating the story about when he first met Al Capone back in the day, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and remember, don't forget, um, in Crystal Skull when he was talking to Mutt, his son. Well, he didn't know it was his son yet, but remember when he mentioned to him that he met Pancho Villa. Well, go back to the episode of Young Indiana Jones where he met up with Pancho Villa and then rode with his guys against Huerta. you know, so I was like, yeah, I mean that was cool because they actually used some of those adventures to relate to how the movies ran, and I think that's what Lucas definitely wanted to have happen was to use some of that montage to go back and say, yeah, this is canon, and it all ties in together. So yeah, I would say they're canon. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, sadly,
Glad we get back.
sadly, not every single Young Indiana Jones adventures, but it is nice to see that, you know, and yeah, because what is on Disney Plus? I mean, eventually, because not just the four Indiana Jones movies, but Young Indiana Jones made its way to Disney Plus. So, not every single of the Young Indiana Jones materials is on Disney Plus. So, yeah, because basically what is on Disney Plus with Young Indiana Jones Adventures, those are basically the stories and the episodes that are considered canon to in the Indiana Jones franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't take all of them. Like I said, Anchorman, they didn't take all of them. From what I recall, they took a certain amount. Oh, we lost him again. Yeah, Eli. So what they did is they took a certain amount of those episodes and they said, okay, tie them in to the four films, well, now five films, and
Mhm.
see how they fit. And in the majority of cases, yes, those episodes are canon because they do tie in loosely here and there with each of the five films.
Yeah.
So that's why they're there. Yeah.
Right. I mean, is there any like? I mean, which is there any like? I mean, to put it this like, I mean, obviously, because young like this is before especially both Indiana Jones 4 and 5 existed and such, and well, because the Young Indiana Jones adventures they happened in the '90s, so like
The
even as
show
of
was made in the
now,
90s.
yeah, but as of now, would there be any indication like anything that would lead up to like say the fourth film or something? Like I don't know, just especially with the fourth film.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that any of the
I
other
mean, I know it.
adventures really tied in. Yeah, well, don't forget Crystal Skull. We see them as they approach Area 51. Well, this was Area 51 really didn't get started till just after World War II. So,
I don't think it's really supposed to be Area 51 because um
Might have
well,
been.
it
because
might have been.
because like yeah, because like okay, first off, like the doors that they break that they get open because
Yeah.
you see the numbers 5 and 1. That's just a nod. That's just a nod to Area 51 because
Well, and don't forget one of the hangars they open is Hangar 18, which they
yeah.
said was the infamous hangar that had all the you know uh, alien technology, the reverse engineering.
Hmm.
They showed that too. So that was a little nod to the movie Hangar 18, which claimed all of that,
Yep.
which was on site. So yeah, I thought that was cute too. I mean, that was a nice tie-in.
Yeah, and by the way, because like a mentioning of them like breaking into that warehouse and Crystal Skull, like I don't see why not. Like, because I think it's obvious. Like that is the same warehouse that we would see in
At the end
X.
of Raiders,
Exactly.
that
It,
was
because it
the
also
Area 51 warehouse, the exact one. So when they came back in the fourth one, I'm sorry, guys, girls in the chat, if we're just kind of passing between two movies here, but it does have
Well,
a tie-in.
at least it's all still Indiana Jones.
It's still Indiana Jones, right? So, like you said, you all three of us agree. When you saw the warehouse at the end, you thought, okay, it's a warehouse somewhere. We don't know where it is. But then when you see the same exact warehouse at the opening there, as they go in it for Crystal Skull, that was a closure right there. You said, oh my gosh, so not only is this Crystal Skull there, but now the Ark of the Covenant's there, and the chakra stones. I don't know if you saw the Shankara stones, but there was the one that they borrowed from the village again after the village was fine. They don't tell you that, but later on you see that sit on a shelf, so that's there. You also have the cup of Christ is sitting on a shelf too. So they pointed to all of that. I mean, just everything that's in this warehouse. And the only thing they were looking for was the skull. But then they disturbed the Ark of the Covenant, which is there because it was put back, in its own place in the warehouse. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, just to tie it all together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to talk about the ending?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
'cause, jumping
sure.
back to the ending of Dial of Destiny.
We're back and forth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so go ahead, Anchorman. What was your impressions of the finale of it?
I thought it was very nice the way Indy and Marion can have like that moment, the final moment together, and
Yeah.
it ends with Indy grabbing his hat. I thought that was a nice touch to the end of the movie. I mean, I don't think this was the perfect ending to Indiana Jones, but I guess it somewhat concludes his character.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. What about you, Eli? What'd you think?
Oh, I think that the ending to Dial of Destiny was pretty good. The best it was, and because how Marion and Indy, because they start to rekindle, and especially because after what Indy had gone through, and from what Marion had heard, and because a little like callback to Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it hurts here and such, that whole thing.
Yes. Yes. And I was going to emphasize that too. I was going to mention that. Here's what I realized. What we both realized, as I said, Suzanne and I saw it, and we own it. What we realized is that first of all, it was very emotional. They, this surprise to see Marion and Indy. We watched we watched the behind the scenes, right?
Mhm.
And so at that point, they actually filmed this ending scene. It was one of the first scenes they filmed for the movie, but it's at the end. And Harrison Ford, it was actually almost a complete surprise. I mean, I don't even think that he knew that Karen Allen would come back. And then when she does come back in that scene and appears with the groceries, and it was like total surprise. And you can't fake that. I mean, that was improvised. Okay, that's what the director wanted for this film. For the film was to have Marion and Marion's character and Indy's character legitimately be shocked and surprised when they see each other again, and then to rekindle those those romantic feelings they had for each other. And at that point, I was very happy. We both were, because it was like everything was melting away. All the animosity, all the bitterness, over their son Mutt, and the things that happened. And yet, through all of it, they were able to truly get back to what they were, how they were as a couple, and how they really cared for each other and loved each other. And like you said, Anchorman and Eli both, getting the hat while it was drying out on the clothesline and bringing it back in was a great twist. Just, because what it did is it basically went back to Raiders when they're on the, the boat there, And after the and he gets hit by the big mirror, and it hurts here, hurts there. But he's not wearing a shirt. Remember, she's with him, and he's not wearing a shirt, but he's got his hat on. So you have to think that when they're starting to rekindle relationship again, um, he says, "Oh, he probably has this moment where he goes, "Oh shoot, I almost forgot my hat," and he grabs it, and that ties it perfectly at the end. So I was like, "Yeah, that was a good ending. I enjoyed that, and
Yeah.
I did have a tear in my eye because I think we both did because we realized, yeah, I think it's over. I think that's the last time we'll probably ever see Harrison do this role again.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah,
But it is kind of funny because like when he like grabs the hat, like it's like he's not like I guess it's like he's not quite done yet, but but really, but really overall, this this being the last Indiana Jones film, so
I think it's I truly believe that they, for lack of a better term, I think they've gone to the well too often. I think they did just enough to finish it the way it was supposed to be done, as subtle as you could be with the hat and everything. Um, yeah, I don't think he's coming back. There's no way because Ford, he's old enough. I mean, he's really too old enough to do this role anymore. He knows it, and I think yes, I think that just put a cap on it. I think it pretty much created closure of some kind. Now, if anything else happens, he's not going to be in the next one, whatever which one they do. If they do a fifth one at all, which I hope they don't, because I think it should be over now. But if the powers that be with the evil mouse decide they want to create another one, and well, we know that Harrison won't be in it; he won't be a part of it. It's just a question of who else is going to take the mantle, right? And welcome back, Anchorman, and just take it over from there. So,
Okay, I think that was it for the movie. I honestly, I really enjoyed the movie overall, even if I noticed some flaws with it. But like
yeah.
overall, I think I had a great time watching it with my family when I saw it last year, and
yeah,
it's a nice farewell to Indiana Jones. And I give this movie probably an 8 out of 10. That's how I feel.
okay. And what about you, Eli? And I'll give you my review.
Yeah, well, actually, before I talk about my final thoughts and such, like, one more thing to mention, like, how did we feel that Dial of Destiny was the first and last Indiana Jones film not to be directed by Spielberg?
I
That's
think
right.
I think James did a good job.
Yeah,
I think
I
he did
mean,
a decent job. I don't have an issue with him, James Mangold. Don't forget, it went through 5 script rewrites before they actually, and it went through 3 different directors before they decided on Mangold.
yep. And besides, like, I mean, Spielberg was attached to direct it, but then he stepped down, and of course, just obviously stayed as producer, and I think because the reason, excuse me, the reason like why he chose not to direct it is to let someone else like take the place of directing it, and for new generation and such.
Yes.
Yeah, I think. Well, don't forget. Wasn't it James Mangold that did films like Sense and Sensibility? He did a lot of these more human type stories, uh, and I guess that's what that's why Spielberg was happy with James being the one to direct it ultimately and to finish it because he wanted to put a more human side to it for the characters to give them more of I guess in a way more of vulnerability because we all know how Indy was in the previous 4 films. He was daring, he was action packed, he did all sorts of things. Like I said, very well learned scholar and a professor. But don't forget, he lost because they brought it back briefly. He lost Marcus. He lost his dad. His mom before that. He lost Mutt because Mutt disappeared in Vietnam somewhere, and of
Mhm.
course he was ultimately leaving Marion, which seemed like for the last time. So he had a lot to lose. I mean, he just
Yeah.
it was almost like he gave up, almost there at the
You
beginning.
almost did.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way, because another thing on James Mangold, like, I mean, but because he's best, because a lot of other films that he's best known for directing, which were good.
Yeah.
Like he did the Johnny Cash biopic, Walk the Line, and
Yes.
he did the X-Men Marvel film of Wolverine, which being Logan. So
Yeah.
Which
Logan
is
was
a great
great.
one. Yeah. So yeah, he's like I said, he put a more human side to the characters. Made them more than just 3-dimensional. He made them 4-dimensional, which
yep.
is good. I applaud him. I at least applaud him for trying to put that distinctive way with characters. He knew how to act with Ford. He knew how to act with the other characters as well because he had encountered them in different films that he did, including Phoebe Waller-Bridge and of course Antonio Banderas. So I mean, and Mads Mikkelsen, of course.
Mads
So I mean,
Mikkelsen. Yep.
yeah, and Crashman, right? As I mentioned him early on. Yeah, so I mean, he dealt with all those different actors and actresses, and even Karen Allen. So he knew what to do, and John Rhys Davies, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew what to do,
Yes, he did.
and I applaud him. I mean, yeah, it's sad. I mean that it took so long for what they went through, like I said, but in the end, I think that Mangold was definitely the right choice.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
as for me, I usually give it out of 5. So what I did was, I put it as between a B plus and an A minus grade, and I gave it 3. I ultimately finished with a 3.8 out of 5. So almost a full A, but not quite. So
right.
So you
Yeah,
like
and for me, because well, and a few more, just very quickly. Another thing I want to mention, and by the way, because I almost forgot, because Mangold also directed the Wolverine from 2013. So there's
yes,
that one. But
yeah, we own
but
that one. Yeah,
yeah, but also one thing I want to mention is that you know. I've had the Dial of Destiny pulled up on IMDb, and I'll read this because Steven Spielberg, he saw and gave the movie his blessing at CinemaCon by saying, "I just had that experience 2 nights ago. Disney CEO Bob Iger had a screening for a lot of the Disney executives, and I came to the screening along with the director, James Mangold. Everybody loved the movie. It's a really, really good Indiana Jones film. I'm really proud of what Jim has done with it." He added, "When the lights came up, I just turned to the group and said, 'Damn, I thought I was the only one who knew how to make one of these.' This is, of course, the only Indiana Jones film not to be directed by Steven Spielberg, who stayed on
yeah.
board as an executive producer. And rightfully so did he stay. He stayed on board as producer. And by the way, because this is also the first time in quite a while that George Lucas has has worked on something from his company. So
Well, did you notice also that this was the first Indiana Jones that didn't display the Lucasfilm symbol at the beginning?
Yeah, we
yeah,
talked
because
about that earlier.
we talked
Yeah.
about that earlier. Because I mean,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I walked in after you probably said it, and I was just like going,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because I was
know.
just watching that happen. I was like, wow, okay. This is definitely different. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was also like, because I mean, this is the first time that that something dissolves. That's not the Paramount Mountain, but this time it's the Lucasfilm logo, and I think
It's
that
the Lucasfilm logo, yeah.
I think they did pretty good on that.
Yeah, I thought it definitely put a different twist to the opening. I was a little shocked because I really did want to see the Lucasfilm logo first and then see the Paramount Mountain appear because it did
Hmm.
that right for like the first 4 films. And you know, even I mean, come on, even showing the Paramount Mountain and then showing a Gopher Hill.
I was talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
Not a go for a prairie dog.
a prairie dog. Sorry, prairie dog. Right.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
but
sorry, I misnamed him. He was a prairie dog. Yes.
Anchorman. like Miss Seta too. Go for again. It's a prairie dog. So
Right, prairie dogs, right. But still very cool. I mean, just, fading from the Paramount Mountain design into the prairie dog, hill. Yeah, just very cool.
yeah. Okay, but now let me. Okay, my final results and what I have to say on Dial of Destiny and how I rate it. Well, for me, because I think it was pretty good, and it may not be the best and grand finale of the Indiana Jones like film movie series and such, and in the Indiana Jones franchise. But it did its part. It did its best, and there are some good things about it. And with with James Mangold's him directing and some pretty good funny moments and emotional moments, and of course you have the music. You have the music and score by the one and only John Williams. And
Well, John Williams had to do the music and score. There wasn't anybody else. Even, you know what? Here's the weird part. Just to emphasize about Mangold one more time. But even
Yep.
Mangold realized if you don't have John Williams do the score and the soundtrack, it's just not going to work. I mean,
I
he just
agree.
couldn't think of anybody else to do it, and then Spielberg said, "Hey, I can get John to do it," and so that's one of the last movie soundtracks that John Williams does, and
Yep.
he made it special. So,
But about that, because it seemed like at one point, because apparently John Williams was going to retire from the industry of doing music and score. Like, Rise of Skywalker would of course be the last Star Wars film that he would do music for.
that he ever worked on, yeah, that's true.
And one of the next films after that he would do, which and would have most likely been at the time the last film he would do the music and score, and very fitting that it would be the last one he would do, which of course being a Dial of Destiny. But I think maybe before or after Dial of Destiny, it was announced that John Williams, I guess he changed his mind on retirement. So
He's
Yeah,
rocking
which
it.
is good.
if he still has it in him, then that's his decision. Like if
Yes, it is.
he's still up and going and just wanting to still continue as much as he can, then that's good to hear. But okay, so other things I have to say about Dial of Destiny, because how I rate it, well, I'm basically giving it the exact same as when me and my dad we did our review of Dial of Destiny. I give this I give Dial of Destiny 8 out of 10 stars. So
Yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where I stood, right? Yeah, that's about a high B, maybe like a B plus.
Yeah.
yeah, sounds about that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what we gave it when we saw it. I'd say some other scenes that were very cool, you could easily give it an A grade, but I think overall, at least the story, it kept you interested. You weren't
Yep.
bored. I mean, other than sometimes when you had, what I call dialogue rich scenes that, there was no action and it was kind of plotting. So if you didn't have those as often, which it did seem that way, but maybe I was just thinking, what was I watching? But anyway, yeah, just other than that, like I said, I was pleasantly pleased by the cast. I think overall the cast was great. I loved seeing, like I said, I love seeing Antonio Banderas in the scene, in a few scenes. I loved seeing Mads Mikkelsen again, because like I said, I remember him from, from working with Benedict Cumberbatch in one of the Doctor Strange films, and he also was, in Le Chiffre, in the Daniel Craig Bond film of
He was in Rogue One.
CRAL, and yeah. So, and like we said, Galen Urso in Rogue One, which leads
Yeah.
right to Star Wars for A New Hope. So,
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge was also in something Star Wars.
She was in Solo.
Yeah, she was
yeah,
L3.
she was in Solo. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the one droid that really had a personality. So
Yeah.
Yeah, what was
L3.
his name again? Was it 88
L3.
something?
I think
It was L3.
Oh, okay.
Which, by
And
the
you know what
way,
I like?
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, because unfortunately L3 sadly met her demise. However, a part of
Yeah.
her lives on in the Millennium Falcon. So
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And I was just going to mention, you guys are really big into martial arts, right? How about that blind Jedi played by Donnie Yen?
I liked him.
yeah,
Oh my
he was
God,
fine.
just so awesome.
He was in John
Yeah,
Wick 4.
yeah, he was great in John Wick 4. We own that too. Yeah, we
Yeah.
finally saw that in theater. Was it only a few months ago? And then we bought John Wick 4. So we have all four. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Skarsgård. I mean, Skarsgård in that, great villain. Yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he played a great Pennywise in the It reboot, but even better there in John Wick 4. Yeah. He did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, okay, so let's review. So, both Eli and me basically gave it about a B plus, maybe close to A minus, but probably closer to B plus. Like I said, I gave it a 3.8 out of 5, my rating, and then yours was 8 out of 10. And then Anchorman, did you say you were closer to B also?
Yeah, 8.
An A, okay. So was it 8 out of 10 for you or 9 out of 10?
It was 8.
Yeah, me too. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, yeah. So we're all about the same then. Probably about a B
Mhm.
plus grade. Yeah, right about there. And it did have its moments. And like I said, I think we all agree, gentlemen, that the ending, maybe it's not one of the better endings of a franchise, but in our case, I think because it did have such emotional resonance, and because of the cute little way that it ended with his hat, his brim, yeah. So
Hmm.
I had fun with that. That was fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I told somebody when we first saw it opening day, they said, "Well, how long are the credits?" Oh, they're about 10 minutes long,
They are.
almost 15, because there was a lot of different, uh, companies that work on it.
Of course.
There was Crafty Apes, there was Hydraulics, a lot of different. And like I said, the stunts by Vic Armstrong were absolutely awesome. Love the stunt work, love the fights, the chase scenes, everything. So yeah, it was good. It was good in those points.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
did we?
I guess I think that pretty much wraps it up there because I
I
think
think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And by the
Uh,
way, because I'd like to point this out, I meant to bring this up. Seemed very fitting to do this review of Dial of Destiny on 4th of July because
Yeah.
I don't know.
yes.
I don't know because Indiana Jones is not really 4th of July material, but it just seems like one of those things that it'd be kind of fitting to watch, like on around like 4th of July or something. So
Well, wasn't it in July of 1969 that they had the Walk on the Moon?
I think so.
yeah, I probably
Yeah,
so, probably
because
so.
well,
I'd have to
because
look it
I
up.
know. Yeah, well, I think I'm right because my mother's birthday is July 17th. This year she turned 78 years old, and she had her birthday, I think, while they were in flight on the way to the
Wow.
moon,
That's
and after
interesting.
they landed on it.
Mm.
So, and at that time she was, wow, she was 23, and she had
Cool.
me and my brother. There was two, she had four kids. I was first, born in 65. My brother was born, Phil, in 67. Then my two sisters, Bernadette in 71, and my last sister, Elizabeth, in 75. So, yeah, I think back then she was, you know, she had the two of us boys, and eventually, about a year or so later, she was going to have her first girl, you know, me and my mom and dad. So, and we were still living in San Francisco at the time. So, I
Interesting.
mean that was fun. Yeah, that was fun watching the moon landings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Uh,
yeah. Was it around that time, Anchorman? Did you take a look at it?
Sure, but like maybe when the stream's over, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know if like I could look and see, but
You probably could look.
yeah, let me see. Like, when does take place specifically? Well, I mean, it doesn't really, from what I'm looking at, it doesn't really.
It must be slow.
No. I mean, it's like what I'm specifically looking for, like Googling it, like. I mean, like, I don't know, like month or something, like.
Right. Okay.
Well,
So
okay, so
at 9.
apparently, I think because what I found, like, apparently it takes place in the late summer of 1969.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I have at 9:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 16th, one day before my mom turned 23. With the world watching, Apollo 11 took off from Kennedy Space Center with astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, and aboard. And then uh, Armstrong was the commander of the mission, and it was literally less than 2 days later, just after my mom's birthday, that they landed on the moon. So, but yeah, they launched on July 16th, so the summer of 1969. So, according to uh, Dial of Destiny, this is just after the astronauts got back from the moon and debriefed and decommissioned, and then they celebrated in New York, right? That's where they were. So,
Yeah.
yeah, had a parade and everything.
Yep.
What do you guys think? I didn't, like I said, I caught you guys at a time after you first did the review, but did the astronauts look like the astronauts? You know, the recreations of Armstrong,
Probably,
Aldrin, and Collins, or no?
maybe.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I didn't.
I
They
didn't
seem
really see it.
they seemed fine to me.
Yeah, I mean, they looked like they did to me. Yeah, I mean, well, for the three actors that stood in for them, sure. I mean, but
Yeah.
yeah, I thought they did. Yeah,
hmm
very cool.
Well, again, I think we pretty much like said all we've had to say, and for the end of this, so
Yeah.
yeah,
You want me to
because
Well,
wrap it
we
up?
ended at a perfect time. 3 hours is pretty much. I mean, that's how long my reviews went with the entire franchise.
long and
Uh,
this
so
stream being longer than the movie itself.
yeah,
Yes.
this was probably, if I recall correctly, this was the longest Indiana Jones film up to that point.
Yeah, it was. So I guess they went
Yeah,
all in.
right.
Yep.
Do you guys want me to wrap it up?
Now,
Yeah, let's
final things to say.
yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I really liked the movie, and I think my next review will probably be Barbie, but the Barbie movie. But that should be fun. But you guys got anything else to say before you say goodbye?
Yeah, let Eli go first.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I had a good time with this stream, reviewing Dial of Destiny and all that we've had to say, and having another guest join.
yeah.
And yeah, and thanks for joining us, Mikey.
Thank you.
I think it definitely helped that we had more than just like say like one or two people doing this. So.
It did help.
Yeah, it helped a lot. I agree, and like I said, I'm brand new to your channel, Anchorman. So
Oh, thank you.
most definitely, I'm subscribing to you. I hope we get to do more of these movie reviews because I think it's good to have three opinions. I mean, I did have a couple people help me when I was reviewing the other films. Uh, I also did James Bond. I did a review of the entire James Bond franchise. We own every single film except
That's
for
cool.
Never Say Never Again, which was the last one that Sir Sean Connery did. Rest in peace.
Mhm.
Which featured Kim Basinger in her first role on
Yeah.
screen. It also had Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson as Nigel
Cool.
Smallfaucet. We should do a review of that film because it's so funny. And for years people considered it non-canon because it wasn't done by Eon Productions. It was done by Kevin McCrory's own a production company, but it was loosely based on the Thunderball original script because McCrory had worked on that. But now, if you ask any fan, especially because I'm a big James Bond fan, I'm also a part of the worldwide James Bond fan club. If you ask any of us true diehard fans, Never Say Never Again is canon and it's part of the entire franchise. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's really hard to obtain. It's the only one. Like I said, we don't have it yet. We're also trying to get the Casino Royale parody movie, which features 3 different James Bonds, played respectively by Woody Allen, Peter Sellers, and David Niven. So, yeah. So which has Ursula Andress in it again. So that's a lot of fun. That's a funny movie to do too. If you ever get a chance.
The best way to put at it with Never Say Never, I think as well, to put it this, like, it's canon to the line of the James Bond films where Sean Connery was Bond.
Yes, and that's why I agree. I mean, most people didn't think so, but now that you ask fans, like the real true fans fandom, they'll say yes, it is. And then eventually, and here's the kicker. Just after Sony gave up ownership of the James Bond franchise, because they took it from Eon initially, right? But this was just after, I think it was GoldenEye. And then what happened was after Sony gave up and gave it back to MGM, which originally owned Eon and worked with them, then the fans said, hey, we should make Never Say Never Again as official canon. So it is in James Bond lore. It's a part. So there's actually 27 films total now instead of 26. So yeah, it's very cool. And guys and gals, if you get a chance when you check out our Mikey Sues 4 channel, look up the Indiana Jones franchise stream I did to help these gentlemen here talk about Dial of Destiny. Also, the James Bond franchise is mentioned. Make sure you check that out because I think he gives a very thorough and detailed description of the whole franchise, how it got started, and the actors that played Bond and so forth, including No Time to Die. I made sure that I included that final film in there. And basically, I'm very honored and blessed to be a part of very unique panels like this. So yes, I agree. The 3 of us gave a very good description, a very good review of the film. If no one has seen it yet, please definitely buy the film because it's worth it. It really is. It's actually very good. Make sure you get the Blu-ray version of the film because that's what we have. It's definitely better than the DVD version, in our opinion. Also, Mikey Sues 4 will have a review on August 15th. We're going to be reviewing the latest Deadpool 3 film, Deadpool and Wolverine, just after it premieres here in Canada on July 25th and down in the States and everywhere on July 26th. So make sure you guys check that out. We'll have the time determined for you when it gets closer to the date. Also, we do weekly webcams of different series. We do Red Dwarf. We're going to start doing 2 episodes of Red Dwarf review on Mondays. We're also still doing The Secrets of Isis, which was the 1974-75 early Saturday morning live action, which came early from from DC Comics. And then also we've got The Greatest American Hero on Wednesdays, live stream with my friend Jay Aldrich on Thursdays for the A-Team. We're working on season 2. And then on Fridays, we're reviewing every single one of the Star Trek films. We own them all. So we're right now in September, we'll be reviewing Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, and going on from there. So definitely make sure you check that out, folks. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun reviews there. And like I said, I'm honored, I'm blessed and privileged to be a part of this wonderful new panel that we got to examine Dial of Destiny because It needed a little more thorough description. I think we gave it. Justice and did it justice. So,
You.
I'd say so, yeah.
Well, thank you all for coming on.
Yep, and we hope you all enjoyed our review. This wasn't planned, but it turned out good. Three of us reviewing Dial of Destiny. So,
All right.
and happy 4th of July to everybody.
oh yes,
Happy
happy 4th of July to everyone in the States from Canada. Yeah.
Yes. I guess I'll send it off, but thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Yep. Sounds
Bye.
good. Goodbye.
Bye, viewers. Bye.
Take care.